Good evening, all. Hopefully, you can hear me well. Um, Welcome to Midweek Geek. At the moment, it is just me here because I appear to have no friends. I've heard back tonight from Sactius and from Major's Musings, both of whom are busy and can't make it. Hopefully, some others will be joining me at some point. The link is there in Discord for anybody who does want to join and who wants to get on to tonight's topic, which, if it's left up to me, is not going to be a particularly in-depth or imaginative one, because I was hoping others might take the lead a little tonight on this topic. But we'll see, because some people do join when they get back from work. And we have got plenty in chat, which is a shame, really. Hello, Manfred. Hello, Chris. Hello, Lee. Hello, Halakar. Hello, RW Bishop. How are you doing tonight? So, I suppose I should kill some time to start with by talking about gaming in the last 7 days, while people are busy waking up and deciding, oh, are we going to join Geeks stream tonight, or are we just going to leave him flailing by himself? Right. My gaming in the last week, I have played twice. OSE on Saturday, and that was Gingerbeard's game. I played my druid, my cowardly druid, because he's not very strong. His name is Psilocybin. He's into mushrooms, and he didn't get to do a lot because his first level, his one spell, really wasn't ideal for the situation, and he spent most of the time pinging sling stones around. He's not very strong. He's a typical OSE character at low level, being a druid as well. And in the evening, we played a MERP session, and I rather enjoyed our MERP session this time. Going right back to the very start, it was suggested to me that it might be interesting to run a MERP game in Arnor around middle of the Third Age, specifically around the Cardalan region, because of all the fact that it was fractured and the various princes are vying for power and lack it and have real cohesion, and a bit of a political campaign, a bit of a political game. And so far, all they've done is wander around, kill things, talk to a few people, get killed, find a few bits and bobs. And I've started bringing the politics of Cardalan into the game. And my players have started to lean into it quite well, trying to work out which of the princes to trust, who to side with, which armies they want on their side against this impending war that's coming. So it's starting to heat up a little bit. Anyway, I am joined.
Sorry, I lost track of time. So
you and everybody else tonight. You and everybody else. You appear to be my only companion tonight.
Oh, I'm sure that sounds like everyone wants to take a shower and then rush in.
Well, as long as, I mean, we don't want smelly geeks on here, do we? Tonight I am streaming in conjunction with Old Speckled Hen English Ale, none of this American piss water I've had in recent weeks.
Well, you know what though is I'm not a beer drinker, but I know that my son's mother really enjoys what is it, Old Bastard or something like that. Dirty Old Bastard, something like that. It's
there are some very fine names for old English ales. Bishop's Finger is one of them, things like that. Good evening, Gene. How are you doing? So, Omanal, apart from our game that we did play together on Saturday, have you done any other gaming this week?
No, I have. Well, no. Usually I have a GURPS game actually like the evening before we have our games on Saturdays. So, but no, I've just been looking around, watching, reading. You know, I got a couple of cherry. Well, I have 4 cherry trees. I'm going to have to get up early in the morning before Thanksgiving, meal and plant out at my property. So I'm looking forward to that.
Two people seem to know it. An American brew called Arrogant Bastard.
Oh, yes.
Is that the one?
Well, yeah, but there's also a Dirty Bastard Scotch Ale as well. So apparently.
Well, let's talk about our beer habits, because I, as you may be aware by now, I don't monetize my midweek streams anymore, because quite frankly, the whole algorithm thing was an absolute sod. ZYR47, welcome. Thank you for subscribing. And hopefully, I think it's just either straw or piglet. Let me just quickly.
All right.
Is it piglet, or is it straw?
Okay.
Actually, I didn't see any sign of it. Oh, there we go. There's piglet. I've still got both bots running. I'm crap with those. I keep forgetting to go into them. I was looking into other streaming applications and not use these and have different alerts and whatever. But just all the technology of it just doesn't appeal.
You want something like simple, and you think that it's really cool, but doing all the setup takes so much effort. You're like, screw it.
It's a pain. Yeah, I just want to be able to put something in and say, when somebody subscribes, do this. That's it.
We'll see. This is where you need to enlist your son as your technical support for the background.
He doesn't know.
Oh well,
if it was on a phone, he'd be able to. But
I'm just laughing at it, because at a certain point, it's like, all right, you need to do something useful if you want to stay in this house. I need you to make different oinking sounds for whenever someone subscribes.
Well, yeah, we got Manfred to oink. I mean, but yes, we could do with having a proper piggy sound for when Manfred chimes in and things like that, and Piglet. So there we go. All right, someone's bought you 2 Old English ales last Christmas: Santa's Butt and Seriously Bad Elf.
That the names are getting better and better. Things that you would not be allowed to put on, on food, 20 or 30 years ago. Now you see it like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yes. So anyway, other people might be joining us. If anyone does, if anybody in chat fancies popping in and talking about their literary influences, specifically literature, okay? Now, what you define as literature is up to you. But specifically, how things you've read influenced how you play games, the games you like, how you run games, all that sort of stuff.
And I'll throw out my very first one, which I say it's first, but it's probably just because they imprinted on news. How about Grimm's fairy tales?
Well, of course, Grimm's fairy tales are classic stories. Don't trust hairy old things dressed in human clothing in the woods. If there's a wolf outside your door, don't open it and build your house with stone.
I mean, the little Rumpelstiltskin. If you ever want to do like the little, fairy worlds or stuff like that, the atmosphere, Hansel and Gretel, all the stuff we learned as little kids, which just seems so great about that, and that's before we probably ever knew that there was a Dungeons and Dragons or anything else. And I think that's but those are great just for atmospheric aspects. Everyone looks at them as children's stories, but you go, okay, well, how can I modify this a little bit? And I know the old D&D used to do that with what were the 2 modules that they had? That they mimicked Lewis Carroll's.
EX1 and EX2, Dungeon
Yes.
Land and Land Beyond the Magic Mirror, which weren't the greatest of adventures, let's face it, but they were unusual and they were imaginative. Doof is the first person to fall foul of the Nightbot that I have forgotten to tweak.
Oh,
I was
okay.
going to turn off Nightbot being very very complaining about caps, but but I forgot to turn it off. So Nightbot is still being a miserable old git. I need to edit it. Nag me in Discord, people. If you're in the Discord, send me a message and say, "Oi, pardon me, Geek, sort out Nightbot." Right. So people are coming up with loads of suggestions in chat. Come into the stream and talk to us about them, because that's the part of the point of tonight. Right. So you go back Grimm's fairy tales. Obviously, your Hansel and Gretel, your witch in the woods, temptation, the old hag wanting to eat children, that sort of thing. There's a darkness to it, but light almost always prevails. And that's one of the keys, I believe. It gives you a little bit of a message, temptation, trust, and all that sort of stuff. And yes, there is always a dark element in them. There's always a dark. They're grim for a reason, but good always prevails.
So yeah, I mean, those were I'm not sure how in the world they let this in my elementary school, which is generally 1st through 6th grade, or kindergarten through 6th grade. But I got all of my I would be reading all of the occult lore books on vampires and werewolves, and it's like, well, the guy fought off a werewolf and he cut off its hand, and he comes home to tell his wife, and he finds out his wife doesn't have a hand.
Oh, that's marvelous. That's marvelous.
Those were some of the old, tales that they told. And well, how did you become a werewolf? And of course, we have the normal D&D. Oh, you're cut by a werewolf. But there was also the pact that you made with the devil. You drank from a wolf's footprint. All of these things, and those are just they're all great. That's one of the reasons that sometimes everyone looks at the big things, but man, a lot of those stories are fairly short, 4 to 10 pages, and you read it and it's like, oh, I can throw this in my game. And you can see that influence, especially with the old Monster Manual with the art. And that and Fiend Folio to me have the best artwork for sometimes invoking that really dark aspect, I feel.
Yes. The thing with me, I mean, it is something I am very regretful about and very sad about, is the fact that I really haven't read anything for 25 plus years. Not since I've had constant distractions of family and work and all that sort of stuff. But looking back, I mean, I wrote a little list out in front of me of the things I was reading when I was in my teens, and I devoured a lot. Especially from I've seen, like Jean's mentioned, the Hardy Boys. That was a Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys and that sort of stuff. I read all of those when I was about 10 years old. They were great.
The Choose Your Own Adventure books, which we all laugh at, but that was one of my, of course, that was right around the same time I was doing D&D, but Choose My Own Adventure, and I'd flip through it, and they had the same.
When I was 11, 12, 13, I did almost the entire series, yeah. And of course, I'm reading through them again now. But I was constantly, my head was buried in fantasy between the ages of about 10 and 15. And then distractions happened.
Oh, you mean girls? Girls and alcohol?
Well, it only takes a slight distraction for me to be dragged away from focusing on a book. I need a silent environment, that's the hard part. I could get that. I could get that when I was a kid. When I was on the dole as well. On the dole, I don't know if you call it the dole in your where you are.
Welfare?
It's not working.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I finished university, and whenever I was between jobs, which was a lot of the time, and my housemates and flatmates were out because they tended to work nights. They'd got a security job, so I was alone in that house quite often, and I would sit there. This is in my early 20s, and I would read, but that was only a short period because then I got a job and then I stopped.
See, what amazes me is I know you had to focus on it, and now I'm kind of I'm kind of perfect because I was used to sitting on the couch, watching television, and reading my books at the same time.
Couldn't do that. No, no chance.
And I used to be able to do that. Now I have to. Now it takes like 100% focus to focus on one or the other, and that's kind of frustrating because I was so used to just sitting there, and I would look up and see what's going on, and you know, but I would read, and that's how I got through most of my books for D&D and all the other stuff. You know, I would just sit there and read, and I'm trying, you know, try to go for literature, but man, the Choose Your Own Adventure, and then later on when they had the Steve Jackson, you know, books, which he had like Warlock on Firetop Mountain and things like that. Those were all great. Those were all inspirational from that. And then when I got a bit, and then of course I was just devouring the ancient classic mythology, you know, Greek and Roman mythology, and I just loved that. It was so I was immersed in then the Norse mythology, which I've been trying to get my son into. I just need to find a lot of good visual books. And then I don't know about you, but I read one of the comics I enjoyed. I know some people like the Conan Savage, whatever the comic was, but I liked the Warlord one right up until probably, I guess, Mike Grell started leaving, and then they started getting kind of weird.
The comics I saw were very much small children's comics. I did collect the Secret Wars series with Marvel, but I wasn't into any of the specific characters. But that was the only Marvel I ever got into. But for me, most of my comic reading was Viz. And for those of you in chat who don't know the tone of Viz, let me just present you with one of the characters. Where is it? Oh, yes. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I hope you can read this. But this is what I read when I was 16, 17, 18 in terms of comics.
I have to laugh because you know, and I know you went through the Dragon magazine, and I really got into Dragon magazines probably about from 72 forward, and they had some really good cartoons in the back in certain cases, and I loved reading those. And it was like, oh, that's kind of my highlight. But I couldn't get. But no, what I was talking about is, you know, the normal comic books, and I just couldn't get into superheroes other than unless they were humorous, like Captain Carrot and the Amazing Zoo Crew, which I'm not really sure inspires any of my games because I don't like superhero fans. I like to think that
I would say Viz might have inspired our Goblins game that we played with Saxius.
Oh. Yeah, well, that's. but no, those are awesome. You know, it's.
So anyway, that was just a bit of silliness. Anyway,
but no, I mean those are all great. You know, and of course, I don't know about everybody else, but getting into D&D, once I did that, I'm like, well, I want to see how an economy works. So then I started reading books about economics. Oh, I want to understand how to build a trebuchet. So let me go read some about engineering. Oh, well, let me go read about, you know, the medieval life. You know, and you start looking at things, and we're kind of, as much as people talk about, you know, television's made us dumber. In some ways, it's made us a lot more intelligent than we were back then. I really love watching Todd Cutler's Workshop and Modern History, and they're just the visual aspect, because I'm not sure that
for me those sort of channels on YouTube has basically replaced history books, because that is the genre of history that I enjoy, and here are people presenting it in Omen Alder's disappearing trick. Here are people presenting it in an enjoyable manner and quite a scientific manner, especially Todd's Workshop. They're very, very good. And I could look, if I put Todd's Workshop on when I got to work in the morning, I wouldn't do any work. I'd be there going, hey, oh, yeah. Cheers from the hilt. Have a good one. Hello, Kabuki Kid. How you doing? Mm-hmm. For those of you, if Manfred, you were looking for the link. The link is in the usual place. You've just got to learn how to use Discord. I always put the link in the same place.
But no, I mean, there's so many. But you know, we talk about these things. I'm not checking anything. But you know, Todd's Todd's workshop by actually seeing the physical aspect. And then I don't know about everybody else, but I was looking at where they were doing the whatever they called it. It's the cloth armor that the Alexander the Great used to wear. And they were mimicking, you could, so a lot of stuff is online that you could just read this stuff from scientific journals. And they were showing like the penetration values and stuff. I was like, well, that's kind of cool. That's great. But can you really translate that in D&D? Only from how do I want to put this? The flavor aspect. But I do love to understand what's there, especially, as a kid, remember when we used the word darts and like, oh, the magic user can throw darts. Well, I was thinking like darts that you use in the.
And it was much more like the plumbata.
Yes. And that's what he's referring to as the plumbata, which is a whole different thing, and you're like, oh, okay, now I appreciate how dangerous they are. So I mean, those are great to see, and I don't want to get too much into the YouTube channels, but I think that really helps branch out, and I really do love looking at the colors. And I know that you, of course, you're growing up in Europe. You have a lot more access to the medieval age tapestries and castles and stuff like that. And I grew up a bit in Germany, so that helped me go to the same things. Though a lot of it, I think, when I was growing up, is while we got some of the Middle Ages, a lot of what I got was from the Roman era. So because that's, hey, well, let's go over here. And so, yeah, we looked at some of them, but that was the highlight, I guess, for where I was in Germany, was a lot of the Roman era, which was still great, going out there. And just looking at the, illustrated manuscripts, and you look at the colors that are out there. Oh, hello, Wayne.
Hello. How you doing?
How you doing?
It's been an exciting day. I didn't notice your post about the StreamYard coming up because I was walking Loki, who is currently staring at me again like an idiot.
Loki is, of course, your mythology-inspired named dog.
Just a second, I will show you the little monster.
All right.
Who ain't so little. Oh, there he is trying to run away.
Oh, the poor dog's running away. I just find that funny. But yeah, no, that's cool.
Yeah, he's a bit of a he's an absolute sweetheart, but he's one of the most different dogs you've ever seen. He is very chickened.
Oh yes.
Looks like he's got greyhound in him somewhere.
No, that's all Trighound.
Oh, what? Sorry.
Trighound, Trigg.
Don't know that one. Don't know.
You wouldn't. It's a U.S. breed from the southern U.S. Basically, they took a foxhound and they bred something bigger.
It's the breed that came after the geometry breed.
Yeah.
Good evening,
okay,
Ben.
I'm just gonna go after that joke. I gotta go. I can't. Not even today.
Otherwise, they might have to carry you out in a Guernsey, right?
Right. Okay. So, Bear, are you here to talk literature?
Yeah, actually, I got some really old stuff. If you're interested, guys.
How old?
Well, has anybody ever read The Castle of Otranto?
I have not. And when you say old, what do you define as old? Because I'm going back to the early 1900s.
Yeah, I'm going back in that range as well. Actually, Castle of Otranto, I think, is 1850s, but.
Oh, wow. Well, I guess we could go for Edgar Allan Poe as well, for some of his stuff in there.
Well, actually, I've always wanted to run a Dante-themed campaign. You've got your choice. Is the party good or is it evil? If it's evil, what are they doing in hell? And why are they trying to adventure there? If it's good, well,
So
you got a totally different set, totally different circumstances.
I want to quickly go around everyone first before we get into sort of nitty-gritty. The first fantasy literature of any sort you read, starting with Owen Al.
Oh, the very first, I'm going to have to just go through this. It was probably, if we're going to say real literature, other than, I grew up with a lot of the Greek mythology, but I'm going to say Dracula was one of the first actual books I remember reading at 9 or 10, as far as that age. Which is why I get mad sometimes whenever I start seeing the D&D version of vampires. Like, That's not how this works.
So is there a general like time frame that we're allowed to talk about, or is it just open
Absolutely,
source on
absolutely.
fantasy?
I mean, absolutely. We're talking about how literature has affected how we play, what we like to play, that sort of thing. But first things first, what was your first fantasy book to read?
My first fantasy book?
Yeah.
If I rack my brain back far enough, it was probably the Narnia Chronicles.
I completely forgot. Yeah, okay. Wayne, your first fantasy book?
It was actually The Hobbit and followed by Lord of the Rings. This is before I'd ever heard of Narnia or anybody I knew had heard of Narnia.
Now, I've been saying for the last 10 years to anyone who asked, it was The Hobbit. But no. When I was in about year 4 at school, I randomly picked up a book called Prince Caspian.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Had no idea it was part of a series, but I read it. And that was a year before I read The Hobbit. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I'm Canadian, so we
Me
get
too.
things slightly different over here. No,
Yeah,
I'm serious.
We're odd. We're strange ducks, us Canadians. We're very provincial. I was knee deep in Greek mythology and Roman mythology long before I picked up a fantasy book, though. That's for sure. And it's
Yeah.
because of that my sister got me the Narnia gift box for Christmas when I was like 10 or something. You know.
Yeah, this was the same here. Greek mythology, Norse mythology really sang to me.
Well, and some of it is I don't know if I really read the book or if it was more if I just got it from oral, and watching on
What do you
television.
want, you silly dog?
So,
Sorry, guys.
so I agree with you on that, and but I remember picking it, and they're all about the same time frame. When I dug in, I just pulled like every book out of there and just started, mythology, and ran with it.
Well, with me,
okay.
it was the Greek,
Guys?
and then it was the Egyptian. Those were big ones.
I'm sorry, I have to run again. It looks like I have a dog who is really being cranky.
Oh, no worries.
But I want to mention one really important writer who everybody forgets, but everybody knows. Lee Brackett. What of hers have you read or seen?
Never even heard of her.
I'm not
Right.
familiar. I may be familiar with
But I guarantee you've seen something of hers. Because you've all seen The Empire Strikes Back.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
You need to pick up Lee Brackett's book. She has some absolutely incredible fantasy stuff out there. And it is very imaginative, and it gives you a different view of things. She's also got this series set on Mars. And, well, okay, I also happen to have really liked John Carter of Mars. The idea of using a Martian setting for a D&D campaign has always attracted me. Never done it, but it's something I've always wanted to try.
I know
Sword and Planet can be fun.
Anyways, I have to run and take this dog for a walk, so I shall see you later, guys.
Enjoy. Nice
Cheers,
seeing you,
Wayne.
Wayne.
Cheers, Wayne.
I'm looking down here, and I don't disagree. James the Giant Peach and Willy Wonka. I remember being read that. I'll mention one that isn't, in this era of political correctness and trying to find, non-European heroes. Tarek, I remember my mother read that to me as a child, and I thought that was really good. I'm just surprised they've never even tried grabbing that as an IP to make a movie out of.
What was that?
Tarek, Tarik.
Never heard of it. What is it?
No, I've never heard of it either.
You have to realize it's been almost 40 years. It's the character. It was kind of like Kung Fu meets Africa, North Africa kind of thing.
Is it
but
a book?
It's a book. Yeah.
The Legend of Tarek?
I believe that's it.
Walter Dean Myers?
Yes.
Interesting. His quest would lead him to victory or destroy him.
Oh, of course. But my mother would sit there like every day and read it off, and we go through maybe half a chapter a day until we finished it. And I thought it was a pretty good book. In retrospect, I haven't read it again, that kind of thing. But I enjoyed it. I really did, and I'm surprised that has not been picked up by any of the major, by anyone to make a movie out of. But So there's that. How about the Creep? Was it Creep Show or Creepy? I can't remember. It was kind of that weird comic book.
Creepy.
That was probably one of the first ones that my uncle handed me, and I was 6 years old actually. And he's just like, I was like, oh, it's so cool, talking about this snake, and the guy gets a curse, and he gets turned into then he gets turned into a snake, because he touched the certain amulet and stuff like that.
Yeah, Creepy Magazine. I remember that.
Yeah.
Hi, guys.
Well,
Hey, man.
Manfred, you finally found the link.
I wanted to come in because there was nobody there in the beginning, and now everybody's here. So it's kind of like I'm kind of feeling.
Hey,
feeling-
man, I'm not
yeah,
everybody.
exactly.
I'm an individual. Wow.
Well, and
I
not-
feel
not only
lumped
that-
in.
Not only that, but I'm sure that I'm not nearly as well read as either Omanal or Bear. So
I'm barely read. I'm
I'm-
barely literate. I can barely read a grocery list. Please.
oh, come on.
Omanal is our most literate person here. He is.
Oh, okay.
He's going to be the star of this stream. I mean, we're just going to have to feed off him on this one.
We say that as Bear literally like quotes off Shakespeare.
Exactly. Yeah.
When have I ever quoted Shakespeare here?
Bear quotes films. That's the thing.
I quote the hell out of films. I'm cinema literate, but book literate. No, I've read very specific books, and that's about it. I'm not widely read.
Well,
You're one for comic books, aren't you?
Comic books I'm very widely read on. Films I'm insanely widely viewed, I guess would be the word. I don't know. And literature I've read, I don't know, 3-4 dozen books in my life, something like that. I don't know. Like it's not like I've got like a library of books falling up my ears. I got a friend, Jesus Christ, we won't help her move anymore. We've told her point blank, no, you move, hire a mover, because we're not lifting your boxes of books anymore, because they literally have like 30 boxes of, dude, you are amateur compared to her with that collection. Like times
You
that
haven't
by
seen
10.
everything yet.
Yeah, again, times that by 10. She had to get
Okay.
a 3-bedroom apartment with the master bedroom converted into her library, and she still had dozens of boxes of books. It's insane, this woman. I'm like, Betsy, you
I made a
couldn't have read all this.
mistake. I
She
made a
reads
mistake.
everything.
I made a mistake. I moved to Europe, so I don't have enough space for that.
You're in Europe, you need an adapter.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
But no, listen, reading is what it is, and as long as you read what you like, you're good. And that's why when people poo-poo on reading comics, I'm like, screw you. Do you know how many kids from my generation learned how to read because of comics?
Sure.
How many words we learned that were presented in comic books that we had to go look up in the dictionary to understand what the hell they meant?
I was
Somebody
going
in
back
chat earlier mentioned a comic called Buster that was here in Britain. I remember it.
Buster.
And I did have a few. It was just like a Beano type thing. Have you ever seen the Beano? Or was that just a British thing?
You're talking to a bunch of North Americans that one kind of expat.
Yeah, seriously.
Right.
And I know the language you guys use is called English, but boy, we don't understand what the hell you're talking about half the time.
Because we actually speak English.
Yeah, no, you don't. You make up words. You make up words worse than Americans do. It's a boss, it's a boy, and it's fogging. And what? A what? Fogging. What the hell's a fogging? Is that my? Don't worry.
Here's the difference. In England, you have dialects based on cities. The United States, we have them based kind of on regions.
Yeah.
So
The greatest argument. I wish Sax was here to yell us to stay on topic. But my greatest favorite is you have to figure out where in North America you are based on if you say soda or pop.
Or Coke. No. Did any of you ever take the New York Times that says where you are in the United States quiz? It says, what do you call a soft drink? And it's like soda.
See,
pop,
that's the other
Coke.
one. Soft drink, soda, or pop will determine where in North America you're from.
How about
Coke is
soda
the
pop?
southeastern
Soda
thing.
pop. Don't forget
Soda
that.
pop.
Yeah.
Then
Yep.
put soda pop in my soda pop.
But
Yep.
I mean, if you're in the southeast, because Coke started over around Atlanta, it's Coke. It's like, well, you want a Coke? Yeah. What
no.
type?
Okay, no offense to anybody from the southeast, but duh, it's the southeast. I mean, part of the southeast is a place called Florida. Perhaps you've heard of it.
I've
It's kind
lived
of
there.
famous for crazy,
Florida man.
Yeah.
Anyhow, let's get back. Let's get back on the topic. Okay.
So I just want to mention thing that Bear was talking about. I went back to go read some of those old comics that were in the 70s and early 80s, and the vocabulary is written at a higher level than I see most modern literature. Which you're like, oh, wait a minute. You're like, it may not have as much text, but the phrasing and the words, you can tell they definitely pulled a lot of stuff from the old pulp from the 1910s to 1930s.
Well, this is a Roy Thomas thing, right? Roy Thomas is probably one of the best comic book adventure writers you'll ever run into, right? Like you're not going to have Roy Thomas writing a bunch of, really deep angsty character nonsense, but Red Sonja and Conan and Warlord and all the Golden Age reimagined in the 80s characters from Earth 2, the classic Superman Flash. And therefore it's two-fisted, it's to the point, and there's a real economy of words. And it's something you have to understand when you're writing a comic versus writing a novel, is you have a panel of space to talk in. And if you start getting super verbose, well, your lettering is now going to overtake the art to the point where no one's going to see what the hell's going on in that panel. So you have to learn the economy of words to be able to write a concise panel that gets the point across, delivers the message you want to deliver, but isn't just me go store. Like it's got to have some body to it, but it can't be. And then I went to the place and saw the thing where I could not believe that these people were there. Like you just can't do that. And I read modern comics every now and then, which is a mistake, and I shouldn't. And I see these writers breaking all of these basic rules that guys like Denny O'Neil and Roy Thomas and Marv Wolfman and Chris Claremont established all through the heyday of the end of the Silver Age and the Bronze Age, so the 60s and 70s and 80s. And they just they do stuff like there's a simple rule in comics, American comics, not Japanese. The first person speaking must be on the left side of the panel because of how we read left to right. Otherwise, the conversation will break and not make sense. And I see so many people today now writing comics where the panel's there and they have the person on the right talking and the person on the left responding. And you're like, what? And it breaks your brain. Your brain stops for a moment and goes, what did I just read? Novels give you you have the literature, you have the benefit of you can literally be Tolkien and describe a mountain for 5 pages, have fun. Fill your boots. I prefer short form fiction. I prefer writing scripts and comics than I do. I've tried my hand at writing narrative fiction and it just bores the living shit out of me.
Well, and like you said, with the economy of words, even if it was on the left side, it was still top to bottom. So if someone on the right was talking, there was a bubble on the right.
The very loose thumb for a panel is no more than 20 words. That's a very loose thumb, right? You can get away with it if you can write it well and you have a good letterer who really can mix that panel well. But if you go over 20 words, you're going to create a giant bubble that's going to really, really take up space.
But I mean, but like you said, they only have to use like 1 or 2 bubbles, and they would you just got that. Not only was the picture there, the verbiage was there, which just helped so much. You're like, oh, cool. Yeah, like you said, let me go look that up in the dictionary.
Hey, Straw Piglet, the word to describe what I said is hyperbole. Perhaps you've heard of it. Hyperbole. I know we didn't describe it now for 5 pages.
I thought Frazetta just drew
Frazetta would just paint it 5 times. It would be awesome each one.
That was, but I mean, there's that. There's so many, I don't know. Did you guys, it's quasi nonfiction. I call it pseudo fiction or pseudo science. But I remember reading in 4th grade the Books of Mu, which was the correspondent lost continent over in the Pacific. And that was pretty cool reading about that because, they talked about similar technologies and blah, blah, blah. And I'm surprised. I've seen a couple of RPGs, but I'm surprised I don't see more of it out there. Everyone likes to use Atlantis, but no one. I've only seen 1 or 2 books that'll reference Mu.
Right. So, okay, hello, Iman. Hello, Gene. Gene is shouting, "Where is Saxius?" Way off topic. Oh, we're talking about fiction.
I don't know. He thought he was coming in. I thought he was saying, "Yeah, it sounds good."
No, Saxius can't make tonight because of work.
Okay.
He had a bit of a input in Discord. So, going strictly with the sort of authors you would see in Appendix N. Are we all familiar with Appendix N?
No.
It was the reference that Gary Gygax used. These were some of the inspirations for D&D. That's what Appendix N references.
And thus, I mean, I mean, Bear, I know you don't play D&D anymore, but you did, and I'm guessing you.
I actually am
welcoming.
making a video about this very soon, my friend, because I have turned a corner.
Oh,
Yes.
Oh no.
But that's not what the topic of this video is about, so you're going to have to wait.
Okay.
so the things that you saw in
That's very
Appendix
interesting.
N, you there was a lot of authors I'd never heard of in Appendix N,
Mhm.
certainly at the time, and I'm still. But you got obviously Tolkien, Fritz Leiber,
Yep. Patrick
Zelazny,
Granoser, yeah.
Jack Vance.
Did you say Zelazny?
Not
Michael
yet.
Moorcock.
He's getting there.
Who do you say after Fritz Leiber then?
Jack Vance, the dying earth.
Oh, I heard Zelazny. I'm sorry, Jack
Dying Earth.
Vance.
I thought I said Zelazny.
I thought he said Zelazny.
Oh, you did. Yeah, he did.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Hey,
He
hey,
slipped
here's
that
a
in there
thought.
too.
Let John answer for himself, you bastards. I'm a fight.
I did.
You. John,
Did I
it's
say
okay. I'm on,
something
your,
wrong
I'm on your
there?
side. As the only other member of the Commonwealth in this conversation, I'm on your side.
Did I say something wrong there? I remember that name being there. I've never read a book by him. Clark Ashton Smith. I remember that name. I've never read a book by him either. That was the Amber. Was it Clark Ashton?
Yeah,
That's
the
the
Amber book.
Zelazny. Yeah, Amber was the Zelazny.
I thought that was Clark Ashton Smith.
I don't know who did what Ashton Clark Smith is famous for. I don't know.
Well, you can't forget Robert E. Howard.
Robert E. Howard. But I'm thinking, I mean, I wasn't aware at the time when I was playing these old adventures of how they were adapted from these works.
Mm-hmm.
Castle. I didn't know why Castle Amber was known as Chateau d'Ambreville, for example.
Same.
And I ignored all the references in there because they meant nothing to me. But it's clearly that classic adventure was inspired by a particular series of novels by a particular author. I thought that was Clark Ashton Smith.
Well, you know,
but I don't know. So
sorry, go ahead.
So last it was Amber, but which one? But I'm thinking of Castle Amber, Chateau d'Amberville.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's probably I think that's. And I'll be honest, as a kid, I thought that was a lot of that was adapted from Poe because I remember reading some of those stories that they.
Averoyne.
No,
Averoyne.
Zothik. You're thinking of Zothik.
Averoyne.
Oh, Averoyne.
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 That was.
C'est ça que tu dis, Averoyne?
That was Castle Amber, but.
Yeah, but he also did Zothik, which was his biggest thing, right? For Clark Ashton Smith, that's the big one that he's remembered for.
I don't know.
Fucking whatever. He sounds weird.
Jason's correcting me here, saying Amberville comes from Clark. See, I'm showing my lack of knowledge here about.
Hyperborea is Clark Ashton Smith.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He was more Robert Howard Lovecraft in his writings. He was much more into the darker stuff for a lot of it. Like, what's the term you would use? I can't remember the term they used to describe it. Is it weird fiction? Am I thinking weird fiction? Is that the right term?
Mm-hmm. Yep, I think so.
I'm sure Castle Amber was taken from a lot of different sources for that.
Yes, that's part of my point. Is that Castle Amber, the Lost City, Dwellers of the Forbidden City, all of these were pulled from that genre of literature, and D&D itself was crafted around the spell casting from Jack Vance. I mean, these are things I never knew until I dug into it once I've got older, and my own frustration at never having read these books, it is there. And that's one of the reasons why I've started doing some read-throughs on the channel. Because here is the problem I have when I'm reading. If I'm interrupted while I'm reading, I don't take in anything. If I'm not interrupted, I take in the general gist. If I'm listening, I take in the general gist and the feel. But when I was doing the recording for the Call of Cthulhu, it's the first time I really studied every single word and really, really paid attention to the picture that was being painted. And I want to do that with a lot more stuff because I found it very interesting. And yes, the sound editing was a pain in the ass, but the actual re-listening and studying of it, I found really, really interesting. And
Lovecraft has a way of sneaking up on you like that too, because you can read through the stuff and you understand a lot of it by context. And a lot of the words in there are quite antiquated. It's not something
Yeah.
that you'd find somebody using in today's vernacular. And then if you really go back through and read it slower, you have to do something like what you're doing. You really realize, well, wait a minute, does that mean what I think it means? Or, I
Exactly.
like I have a connotation of what this word is, but then when you look it up, it might be slightly different than what you think it is. And I find that quite interesting about Lovecraft, because it's just, it's really right back around the turn of the century, so the last century. So
And he was a very antiquated person. If you
Mhm.
read
Oh, yeah.
the biographies of him, he was so stuck in the past in a lot of ways that, it was just literally incredible.
Yeah, well, I wanted to weigh in too a little bit because you'd asked before what people had read, and I think that I didn't read any real fantasy fiction until I read Tolkien in like the seventh grade, and of course I picked up Lord of the Rings and read a couple of paragraphs, got into the Fellowship of the Ring, and threw it in the corner for I think it stayed there for a year or something like that, and in the meantime I found The Hobbit and read that, but before that. I never I had read superhero comic books, but I never got really into the comic book thing like Bear and a lot of other people that I know have. What I read was things like Master of Ballantrae, Robert Louis Stevenson. It was basically like fiction, but it was more in a realistic setting. So that's kind of how I got into it. And of course, the fairy tales or ghost stories or short stories that you read. So that kind of thing.
I'm going to bring this up because I was terrible about the Appendix N. I think the only thing I read in the Appendix N was The Hobbit, the Lord of the Rings, part of the Silmarillion. I could never get through the Silmarillion. And then, and then
Here was me thinking you suggested this topic because it would be something that you were an authority on.
and then the other one is that I read the Edgar Rice Burroughs, the Mars series. That I really got into, but in the last 3 or 4 years, I've been doing Michael Moorcock. I've been doing the Robert E. Howard Conan, and a lot of it is because I can get an audiobook, and I just can listen when I'm driving. Because a lot of my work for driving involves like 6 hours a day if I'm out driving, and so then it's easy for me to listen for an hour or two. At about 1.5 times speed or so I can get through these things. And man, you get that one. I did read H.P. Lovecraft, and I've been reading some of The Dying Earth. And by understanding some of The Dying Earth, I go, wait a minute. All of their guys were fighters that had 1 or 2 spells. And so I don't like I've never really liked the Dantean system, but I understand where it came from. And I understand why it works in a mechanical setting, where you want to do a game. But
I'm guessing Shed Dweller is Iman under New Guise. He's the only person I know who lurks in a shed when he joins our streams.
Well, hello everybody. It is indeed I.
Dr. Alexander Clark had a request for a history history. Alexander Clark does history, naval history, and one of his Patreon requests one month was to do the ultimate British weapon, the backyard shed. Yeah.
Right. Anyway, so going to the to the main point of this topic is how these authors have influenced how we like to game. Now, I'm going to say when I think of a fantasy game, when I think of a game like D&D or Merc or whatever, because I was very much a Tolkien kid, the whole idea of the rags to riches, the nobody to hero, the slightly, shall we say, the normal person doing extraordinary deeds. That's the sort of thing I wanted. I was never really into the idea of being a great big do-it-all hero conquering everything. I liked that, I liked the idea of just. So, I mean, your Bilbo, your Frodo, they weren't big dashing heroes. They sort of got dragged out onto their onto their missions.
But what's wrong with big dashing heroes?
Oh,
I'm not a
nothing.
big fan.
Nothing.
They have a place. They have a
I'm just
place.
trying to bait them, guys. Jesus.
See,
Everyone relax. I'm just trying to bait Shorty into saying he's got something against tall people. That's all.
Yeah. Can I toss something weird in here? I don't know if I ever mentioned it, but I do write, and some of my stuff is on Amazon. And there's I can't remember. One of the stories is called She.
Yeah.
And you're talking an ordinary person in an extraordinary situation. I think that describes it.
You know, a lot of it is that, exactly like John was talking about, having the heroes that were the reluctant hero, which is, I think, what John's talking about. Whereas, to be fair, when I was growing up as a kid, you looked at Bilbo and Frodo and like, yeah, okay, so what? Give me Aragorn any day of the week. But you had both in there, which is okay. Look, you have a protect. Now you have to act as the protector. You're like, oh, okay, that's where that comes from.
But the hobbits were the true heroes of those tales.
Oh,
Okay,
yes, Aragorn.
listen, I'm not listening to any more of this elf propaganda written by tricksy hobbitses, okay? Boromir was the real hero, and he was done dirty by their propagandic bullshit, okay?
Wait.
Hey, I'm still upset with Peter Jackson for what he did with the younger hobbits. He totally butchered the characters. And they were my favorite characters in the book.
Butchered the characters. Look what he did to Gimli.
Yeah, well.
He turned Gimli into a joke.
Yep.
Well, here's what gets me is just you read The Hobbit and you realize it is Hobbit propaganda. You're like, well, wait a minute.
What's wrong with that?
It's elf propaganda, sir. Get it right.
No. Because Bilbo wrote.
I've always been well below average height. That's why I like hobbits.
But if you read it, it's Bilbo writing his version of him going out there and I'm the heroic one, and look how bumbling these dwarves are. And then if you read the appendices in Lord of the Rings at the back of the Return of the King, and you find out that Thorin Oakenshield was a badass who was fighting over out of Moria and had to grab, what was it, an oaken stump, and that's why he got his name. I mean, you're like, that is not the Thorin Oakenshield that we got in The Hobbit. So obviously, The Hobbit, it's Hobbit propaganda.
There's nothing wrong
The
with
elves
that.
are perfect in all of them, therefore elf propaganda. The wisest and noblest of all the species.
Well, that just makes he lived with Elrond, and he had to be nice. He had to jerk him off.
Let's face it. But it's the goody stuff isn't what really makes the impression. What makes the impression is the stuff like Carl Edward Wagner's Kane or Elric of Melnibone, the characters who aren't
Have flaws.
Huh?
Characters who have flaws.
Yeah.
It's in the case of Kane, it's not necessarily a flaw. Depends on your definition of flaw.
I was thinking of Elric, but okay, yeah, all right.
Well, I mean, I grew up with Conan, but to be honest, is most of my stuff either came from the comic or from the movie. And now listening back to him, like, oh, the way they portray him there is not quite the same way as he is in the book. And
actually, if you turn around, you take Howard's stories only, you get a totally different character. You get a character who makes sense.
You get a very intelligent, very strong. Like it's like, look, I have all 18s and 16s at the lowest. Yep.
Slaying makes for thirsty work, right? So what are you gonna do?
The second series of books I plundered were the Fafhrd and Grey Mouser books. I read those.
Oh yeah. Fritz Lieber, great writer.
And they were they weren't morally pure. They were very grey, and
they were sludge, brother.
But they were interesting.
Yes.
They were interesting characters in an unpleasant and unforgiving world.
Yeah,
And again,
and there
I
actually
think-
was a D&D, there was a module that was translated to D&D standards, first edition, I believe, at one point.
There
The
was?
whole
there were about
Lankmar.
6 or 7. There were 6 or 7 modules, I believe. Hang on, about 4 or 5. Sorry, modules.
And they were also on demigods. They were in the deities and demigods book as well. You know, where they had
Oh,
the
yes.
bats. So
The
yeah,
whole
like
city of Lankmar was based on Fritz Leiber, I believe.
Yeah, it's Lankmar's the city. Yeah. So is it Liber, Liber? What are we doing here, guys?
I'm looking it up.
We're going to
It's,
argue
you
about
always
this
you
one?
always go by the last you always go by the last letter. So
Except when the name is not English in origin, and then you have to be careful because you'll run
I
into
believe,
various pronunciation guides, right?
it's
as Straw
Fritz
Piglet
Leiber.
says,
It's
as Straw
Liber?
Piglet says, it would be Liber.
Yeah.
That's what he
How's it
says.
spelled?
I always thought it would be Liber.
That's Lei. So you always
Lei.
pronounce-
I would say Liber, knowing a bit
Yeah.
of German. Yeah.
well, here's
So,
the thing.
if it's German.
Just because that's German doesn't mean that's the way he pronounced it once they came to the United States.
Yeah, but
True,
that's
true.
You know, that's just Americans screwing up how to pronounce things.
Oh.
Well, you know, look at Schrader.
Hello, are you back again to bother me?
Schroeder. You know, it's one of those things that like, it's just too much effort. You
The
know,
only way I would say that it would be Lieber would be if it was a Yiddish or something like that. But even then, it would be pronounced Lieber. I think. I'm
What's
not
up,
too
you
sure.
silly dog? What do you want? Sorry, guys, I have a dog staring at me again.
But the way you can do that, if it's German, is you just look at the last letter and pronounce the last letter. So if it's E-I, it's I. And if it's I-E, it's E.
Can we just go back to ignoring the Germans? That was always the best
Yeah.
period in Western culture, as far as
It's
I'm
not a good
concerned.
idea. I wouldn't do that. No.
Yeah, Iman.
No, I think
Actually,
things would have gone really badly if you ignored the Germans, actually.
Well, listen,
Yeah,
I will
that's the
say
point.
this. Hang on, I will say this. You ever notice since we put the Germans on the shelf, the world's been kind of going to shit, right? So maybe we needed them there to give us a reason to be better.
I'm going to bring
Same.
this much. I'm going to bring this much. Manfred is from Pennsylvania, and they have all of that German influx come in. Whereas at least in Texas, we have both German and Czech. You know,
You've got a city down there where they still speak German, at least. I mean, we do too. We've got some Amish people and stuff like that, but it was 80% German.
Wait, what
We've
language
got
do
a
the
royal-
Amish people speak?
We've got a royal family who are German.
German.
They speak German, yeah. Like it's just like.
Oh, do they? It's not like.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
No,
they speak it like this now. They say that'd be a fine bomb, but it is no pool English.
Pennsylvania Dutch was Pennsylvania Deutsch, basically.
Yeah.
So that's where it came from.
That makes sense, right? Okay, yeah.
So we have
Iman.
Mennonites in Canada, right? Which
Yes,
is sort of similar.
progressive.
lineage in the-
Iman, how well read are you, or are you just going to lurk on this stream?
It depends on what kind of books we're talking about. Because if we're talking about that sort of stuff, I can't say I've read too many.
So,
I've
so,
only read
so,
Lord
The
of the
question
Rings.
then, Shed, is: did the books you read begin with the words "Dear Penthouse, I never believed those letters in your magazine were true"?
Oh no.
Hey, Shed, missed you. How you been, buddy?
Hey, whether we like it or not, a lot of books still led with the boobs. Whether you know,
Chicks and chainmail.
I was
Why
well.
is that a
I mean, even the stuff by Edgar Rice Burroughs still led with boobs. You know.
A lot of the older fantasy was very how should I put it?
Risque.
Subversive.
Oh, yeah.
No, I mean really. Look at Marsoon.
Frazetta's-
Everybody's wandering around naked with their bits hanging out.
Look at Frazetta's art, for example.
Every single teenage boy who read that was going, I want to go there.
See, I must have led a sheltered life because I was reading Robert
You live
Louis
in a shed.
Stevenson, Robert Louis Stevenson, and Sir Walter Scott, and
Oh
stuff
my
like
god,
But
man!
no,
Fred.
I'm serious. A lot of fantasy, almost all fantasy, is subversive to a certain extent.
I'm trying to bring our
It
shed
has to
dweller
be
in. I'm
because
trying
you're
to
fighting
engage our
against
shed dweller.
something.
I'm trying to engage our shed dweller here. Come on,
This
Iman,
is
come
okay.
on. Your choice of fiction. What sort of things have you read?
So obviously I've read Lord of the Rings, but I wouldn't say it's like my ideal sort of thing. I actually sort of The thing that I really got into fiction with was actually the Fighting Fantasy books, believe it or not. Before then, I used to read like comics and shit.
Which
Nothing
comics?
shit about comics. I read them too.
The Marvel comics.
What
Oh,
what
okay.
inspires you to play the role playing games is really what we're trying to do. And that's what the
What inspires me is you guys, honestly.
Do you know? Do you know Iman's story about how he joined us on the Discord and started playing with us?
No, but I'd love to hear it.
He happened to log into YouTube one Friday night and typed in Warlock of Firetop Mountain, and I was streaming reading Warlock of Firetop Mountain at that very moment.
That is
And he
literally it, though.
And he joined in the chat. There you go.
So you know what got me into role playing from literature, and it was literature that got me into the idea of role playing.
Okay.
A lovely little book that's a part of a series by an author named Joel Rosenberg that was called The Sleeping Dragon. And it was a book about a bunch of college kids who were playing their version of D&D, because he couldn't use the actual names, who learn that their game master is actually a wizard from another dimension who was exiled, and he wants to get back, so he transfers them to be their characters over there to go and open the gate between worlds so he can come back. It's a fantastic read. The series is very good until about the sixth book. Nothing lasts after 5 books. Let's just be honest. I think the authors are done by 5 books, most of them by 3. But it's a really good, fun read, and it's very D&D. And it's very pointing out the absurdities of D&D, but at the same time keeping the drama. It's not a comedy. It's not a mockery. It's really good.
well, I love the ones that do homages, even if they're humorous about it, because you can tell they still love the original source material.
As long as they love the original source material. It's the ones who make fun of it because they don't understand it. They're the ones I don't care for.
That's why I always make fun of Galaxy Quest and Star Trek. You can tell if they love the original stuff about it.
Yeah.
What
But
was
yeah,
that series called, Bear?
The series is called Jesus, I forget. The Guardians of the Flame.
Yeah, that's it. It's been a long time. I'd forgotten about the series.
The first book is called The Sleeping Dragon. I mean, you could just read the first book and never read it, pick up another one of the books in the series, and you'll be fine. But it's a good little series.
I'm going to mention one that I remember as a kid. A lot of this stuff all comes in like within a year or two. Dragon Riders of Pern. I remember reading the first book for that, and reading some of the
I think I
inspiration.
read that.
Dragon Riders of
Dragon Riders of Pern?
Yeah, Ed McCaffrey. It's technically science fiction, but you can use most of the stuff in it for fantasy.
Well, everything I remember was it was kind of fantasy, but with another world that would come in and they would get the threads. Yeah, it was. I don't know about the later books. I only read the first.
Have we done our favorite fantasy yet?
Oh no, go.
I don't know if this is on topic or not, but I used to read a lot of Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah,
It's technically on.
Fits.
Oh, it's great.
He's what
He
got
did
me
some
into
really
like
neat
the
stuff in
gothic
there.
horror stuff. Yeah. The Pit and the Pendulum was one of my favorites, actually.
How about Clark Ashton Smith?
I don't know who that is.
we were just talking
Blanked a
about,
whole bunch of you out. Okay, there's a whole bunch of people who were friends of H.P. Lovecraft's, like Robert Bloch, Robert E. Howard, Clark Ashton Smith, and they all contributed to a certain extent to the Lovecraft mythos. And Smith is definitely worth looking at. He also wrote poetry along with prose.
So Wayne, we talked about him while you were off, unfortunately, when we needed you the most for that.
Oh, who?
Clark Ashton Smith.
Oh, okay.
So it was one of those, like you mentioned, like, oh yeah, but no, that's I never read
That
his
was
stuff,
like
though.
20 minutes ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, Wayne went to sort his dog out.
Yeah, well, the dog's still making funny noises, even though I know he shouldn't because he's done both bits of business. I think he's confused because he's not used to me sitting here talking at.
I was just gonna say, yeah, that's probably it. So,
Right. Bear did ask about favourite fantasy. Favourite. So, Bear, what
Carl Edward Wagner, hands down.
Don't know who that is.
Carl Edward Wagner. Okay, if when John gets up far enough in his dragon readings, he's going to run into a section where they did a fantasy battle between Elric of Melniboné and Kane, the Mystic Warrior. Kane is Karl Wagner's character. People thought back in the day that Kane was just as important as Elric, but Kane doesn't tend to be remembered because Wagner died young and Moorcock kept writing. But I'm really serious. You really need to read his stuff. It's very dark, but it's worth it.
Whenever anyone mentions Moorcock, I can't keep a straight face.
Yeah, I know. I have that problem too.
There's a British band called Half Man, Half Biscuit, and there's a song about it's mainly about Yes album covers being all sorts of very fantasy inspired, and Roger Dean and people or artists like that. But there was a line in it where he sings, "Moorcock, Moorcock, Michael Moorcock, you fervently moan." So obviously the double entendre.
So the discussion has come up in the chat, and I knew it as Melnibone. I've heard people say Melnibone, and now I've heard someone say Melnibone. What the hell is the name of that fucking island?
No idea.
I think it's Melbourne.
A little side note: when John ever gets to that level of Dragon Magazine, at the one of them they put down the pronunciation for a bunch of the monsters in the back.
Yeah,
I think I've done that one already and took the piss out of it.
Oh, okay.
I jumped to it specifically for that article.
Oh, who else?
And argued with it. Okay, Bear. Anyway, you started this favourite fantasy.
Oh,
I
nice.
didn't get your answer.
I've got one you can really have fun with.
No, let Wayne, please allow Wayne.
Yeah, have you guys ever heard of H.B. Piper?
Yes.
Okay. Those who know Piper, who don't know Piper, Piper did science fiction only, not fantasy. But a lot of the characters, the alien races he designed, like the Fuzzies, would fit so well into a D&D world.
Mm-hmm.
Or for that matter, what were the people from? Oh, darn it, the Elrons.
Oh, Zenith Sadabat. Yeah. What was the guy's name? Uprising on Uller.
Yeah, Uprising on Uller. That was
That was a great.
Yeah. You can actually find that one, guys. Anybody who wants to read it, it's on Project Gutenberg.
Yeah.
And it is definitely worth reading.
That was H.B. Piper too.
Yeah, but I mean, he did so many different alien races that you could use in different places, and so many different alien critters. Like
Wayne, you're losing John now because he never listens to anything that's sci-fi. So
he's tuned out. He's gone. In his head, he's running through Farmer Maggot's field right now.
Yeah.
He's looking for the mushrooms.
So I like Glenn Cook.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, The Black Company.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say he's a very good writer.
He's an awful writer. I don't know why that series is as popular as it is. I read
probably because it's a mercenary company.
It's bad.
Because it's gritty. And you don't get a lot of gritty.
Cat litter in the shower. It doesn't make it good.
Stephen Bruce. How about Stephen Bruce?
Okay, I have to admit, I met the guy and I eat him.
I need coffee. I'll be right back.
Let's set up.
I'm gonna bring this up, which is I think everyone's like, well, have we heard of this? Part of this is just to get people to get all of this stuff so they can go read stuff, including us. Like, oh yeah, we need to go read this one. But no, I mentioned another one by Tolkien, which I really enjoyed as a kid, which is the Farmer Giles of Ham.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
It's been a long time since I read that.
Yeah, it's basically where there's a farmer and he has to deal with the dragon. I enjoyed that. But not everything has to be these long, epic, books. Sometimes just the little short stories are great.
And if you want to really mess with your characters, just think. John, are you familiar with the Five? Oh, come on. Swallows and Amazons?
Oh, I did read some Swallows and Amazons.
Okay, so you turn around and you take your player characters and you de-age them to 12 years old, Wouldn't they have fun?
I would. I then want to play Tales from the Loop or Things from the Flood or something like that. If I was do that sort of thing. And yes, I have played a game of that. In fact, it was quite an infamous game because it was the DM who got banned from UK Games Expo a year later for doing dodgy things. But anyway, right. My personal favorite. Well, the thing I've read the most when I was a kid was all the Thomas the Tank Engine books.
Okay, so next campaign we're going to see a tank engine, right?
But I used to know those verbatim when I was a kid. But in terms of fantasy, I really enjoyed going back and going through the Call of Cthulhu slowly, bit by bit, and digesting every sentence. Because, as I say, Lovecraft's writing is odd. You don't always get the meaning of it straight away. And the inflections, reading is a pain in the arse because the inflections are all over the place in his sentences because he doesn't understand punctuation. But it was interesting to do. And my favourite work by him is The Rats in the Walls, the ones I've listened to it as an audiobook, and I thought it was magnificent. I thought it was really, really good. So it's one I would like to read if it's a suitable length. But in terms of enjoying the author, I mean, as a novel, it was horror rather than fantasy. Was the novel The Wasp Factory, because it was short and digestible. Well, that was very good. And I liked the early Necroscope books by Brian Lumley when I first read those in my late teens. But I didn't like the way the books went after the first couple. It went all other planetary, whereas when it was more sort of more horror based, I rather enjoyed them.
Lovely was very heavily influenced by Lovecraft.
Yes, I now know that, having come back and looked into a bit of Lovecraft. I can see that from what I remember of the early Necroscope books. But there was an oddity to them which I didn't really get when I was reading them, because I much rather the on the earth vampire type stuff from the first book.
I'm going to bring something up if we're going to go way, way back, because I know we all had to deal with it. How can we forget about Shakespeare and, like Macbeth and...
Oh, don't fucking say that word again. Oh, my God.
We're forced to read it at school in Britain and forced to study it when we're unwilling teenagers.
Yeah, but
I have the misfortune of doing it for 5 years in a row.
Which one?
Well, yeah.
Macbeth.
A certain Scottish play? Yeah.
Yes, that one.
But it's important to look at like story structure and things like that. No, I agree with you. There's a lot of stuff I hate as a kid, and I go back and I'm like, oh, I kind of enjoy this now because I can appreciate it and I'm not forced. And I don't have to do it by a certain time frame. But at least
Lord of the Flies is that one for me. I did it 5 years in a row.
Who wrote that?
William Golding.
It's a great book.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's not. Not when you have to do it 5 years in a row. No.
It's a really good story.
No. Fucking hate them all. Die.
You know what? I really liked Of Mice and Men, but because I studied it in school, I hate it now.
Yeah, it's funny because you're like, well, we want to expose you to these things, and it's like, oh, okay. But I was thinking Macbeth, the Midsummer Night's Dream, a few other things. Like, oh, okay.
Midsummer Night's Dream is magical. It's
Yeah.
Hey guys, here's one. Have you ever read any of the fantasies of Tanya Huff?
No, you'll have to tell us, Wayne.
I really highly recommend them, and not just because I know her. Believe it or not, the first time I played Dungeons and Dragons, she was the DM.
Tanga Hoff.
Tanya.
Okay, Tanya.
Yeah, last name Huff. She is great.
The fantasies of Tanya Hoff, I had a completely different thought in my head, which I will not share.
Okay.
Tanya wouldn't be interested.
I don't even want to know.
She's married, and her wife would not appreciate it.
Still don't want to know. It's amazing how little of this information I'm going to look at. Oh, who's my name? Who am I?
If you
Where
say
am I?
something like that to Bear, that's an excuse, but it's kind of obstacle. It's no obstacle to him. So
Whoa, what?
I said that's an excuse, but it's no obstacle to you, right?
Which?
If she's married.
Oh no!
If a woman's married.
No. I
Okay.
respect the sanctity of marriage, sir.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
100%. I am. What kind of animal? Oh, a bear. Oh,
I was just speaking out of turn. You're a bear.
So back to my point that I wanted to make earlier. My favorite fantasy series, because we're way past it, no one cares anymore, is The Belgariad by David Eddings. I love that book series. It's fantastic, and I wish they'd make a mini-series out of it because it's
That's
for
a good one.
family. It's fucking fantasy for family, which we need right now. Enough dark, enough gritty, enough edgy, enough bullshit. Let's get something back for families. You know what I mean? Something you can get your kids together with, watch, and get them into fantasy.
So could you tell me what it's about or things like that?
Prophecy, sir. It's about prophecy. It's the hero's journey. It's Omanal being disconnected repeatedly in the stream. It's read it. And then read the sequel where halfway through they go, wait, aren't we doing the exact same shit we just did? And then that becomes a whole story point. It's fantastic. They're two really, the Belgariad, the Malorian. Those are the two series. He did another series.
Interesting. I never picked up Eddings' books. I've seen them, but
they're fantastic. They're very good. But people go, oh, they're for kids. They're not for kids. They're for family. They're not edgy. They're not full of sex. They're not, they're not ribaldic, but they're really good.
As someone that had to read like The Butterfly and the Caterpillar for like a year and a half, family literature is not bad.
It can be very good as long as it's not talking down to the audience. What's it called?
Rangers family literature.
Ranger's Apprentice is another one that was written for his son. He told his son these stories and then eventually compiled them into a series of books, and they're fantastic. And they're not full of sex, and they're not full of edginess, and they're not full of grittiness. They don't paint humanity as this morally bankrupt thing. They just tell a heroic story, and it's really fun.
You're going to really love Desert of Death when I get it finished.
I don't read anymore, so I don't know.
I'll tell you.
I was actually thinking of posting bits and pieces of it to the Discord if John doesn't mind. It's how should I put it? I had a vision of a man sitting on a horse on a hill, steering down to the desert oasis town, and then I had a second vision of what happens later, and now I'm filling in the blanks.
I know that Bear talked about edginess. I still enjoy Sandman, the comics, for what he is.
Oh, Neil Gaiman's so talented.
Neil Gaiman is so fucking overrated. I swear to God. His best work was with Terry Pratchett. Come on. Like he was best when he had someone with a sense of humor working with him, because Neil Gaiman takes himself way too seriously. Same problem Grant Morrison has, same problem Alan Moore has. They take themselves way too seriously. Now, Stardust, I will give him, is amazing.
I'll be honest, the only thing I've read by Neil Gaiman is Sandman, which was 30 years ago?
No.
So, and it was the comic. Well, I read the comics, not the.
Actually, I've got the comics on my bookshelf here. Never read
Dream
them.
of a Thousand Cats is one of the best stories he ever wrote. Okay, like I'll give him that. Absolutely. But I find Sandman is like Watchmen. It just gets way more praise than it deserves. Sadly. But then again, I'm a comic snob. What was that, Shed?
And now that you said that, I understand. Like it's like Watchmen.
Well,
I didn't get the hype about that either.
It's one of those things where like they redefined a genre. Great, congratulations. Redefining a genre doesn't necessarily mean it's good. It just means it was something different at a time when people weren't doing something like that. And Sandman does have some good stories in it, but overall, this heroic praise that gets heaped on Sandman, I'm like, why? I've read it. There's some good stories, but it's not a knock him out of the park, home run every time. It's just, it's okay.
Well, see, for me, it's
not Thunderbirds.
Come get some, Kabuki Kid, because I can explain exactly why I don't like Watchmen. I mean, I like Watchmen, but why I hate what Watchmen did to the comic book world.
Well, and for me, it's just like what brings inspiration. It's not that you have to say everything's the greatest. It's like, oh, okay, that's cool, and I agree with you. But after a certain point, it's like, all right, enough. Especially in the later when you get there's a certain point where people need to learn when to stop until rather than when they get canceled.
Well, it's fandom. Fandom. Never forget the word fan means fanatic, right?
Yeah.
We have to accept that origin point of the word. And just like Tolkien, not everything Tolkien wrote was gold. Not everything George R. R. Martin writes is gold. Not everything Gaiman writes is gold. Or like everybody has good stuff they write, and then they have a bunch of filler garbage that they write that gets way more praise because of the good stuff they wrote. So people tend to be more forgiving. I'm a huge Stephen King fan. I'm a massive Stephen King fan. I've probably read 90% of his books, and there's lots of shit. There's lots of garbage in that lexicon, that bibliography. There's a lot of garbage in there, but the ones that are brilliant stand out for being brilliant. But that doesn't make him brilliant. That just makes the work brilliant.
So Bear, what do you recommend?
Whereas I find Stephen King almost unreadable.
I started reading Stephen King just before.
I know what the difference is. It's one of the things I've noticed is that books which tend to be rereadable quite often are heavier on plot, and books which tend to be heavy on character motivation tend to be less rereadable. I don't know if the rest of you have found that.
No.
Of the Stephen King books I tried, I mean, in the early 90s, I read a bunch of them, and the one I most enjoyed was The Dark Half.
Really? See, that's one I think that's a piece of trash. I think it's one of his worst books.
I thought it was great.
So we've learned the valuable lesson. It is not objective. It is subjective. We will
Absolutely.
always bring our own taste to something, and something you like and think is heaven on toast might be hell in a shoe for someone else, right?
It also depends a lot too on when you read something. Like I read the Thieves' World books back when I was a teenager and thought they were awesome.
Yeah, read them
And then
now.
I picked them up and recently, and it's just like,
Yeah.
So
Don't laugh. I know a couple of the writers who were part of that, including Janet Morris.
Well, I enjoy them, but at a certain point,
I enjoy them
get
too.
overdone. But yeah, it's
But they're trashy. They're not, they're trashy.
They're fun. They were fun at the time. They're not. They don't really hold up now.
What's Zimmer Bradley's character? Lifehand? Is that it? What's the name of that?
Lighthead, yeah.
What a
It's like Thomas the
character.
Tank Engine was a great book, but Tank Engine Thomas again was average.
How's everything over there in Farmer Maggot's field there, buddy?
Has anybody here read Roger Zelazny?
Yes, of course. Last Defender of Camelot's my favorite short story ever.
Well, he out of all the writers out there, I think he probably had the biggest impact on me. And I got to meet him a long time ago at a convention. And when I say a long time ago, we're talking nearly 40 years back. Just when he started the second Amber series. And he was explaining to us what had happened with the first series. Apparently, he started off, he got an idea for a book. So he went and talked to the publisher. They said, oh, yeah, we'll buy it. So he gets 2/3 the way through the book, realizes he can't wrap it up, calls the publisher, says, look, there's a second book. They say, oh, okay, we'll buy that one too.
So hang on.
Rinse and repeat.
Kabuki Kid just accused, and I can't believe I'm going to defend fucking Neil Gaiman, of ripping off Harry Potter for Books of Magic. Books of Magic, the 4-issue series, the first one came out in 1990. I don't even think Harry Potter was an itch in her brain at that point, was it?
No idea.
What year was Harry Potter? Oh my god.
1990? It was early 90s. I know that.
Harry Potter.
I remember going with the kids when they were
97.
young.
97 was the first publishing of Harry Potter.
so
yeah, I
Bear's
don't know.
saying
I
that
think
she ripped it off from Harry Potter. She ripped it off for Harry Potter.
She ripped off everything in Harry Potter. Just like she went to the George Lucas school of storytelling, which is take everything you like, repolish it with your own shit, and sell it. And you know what? Star Wars, Harry Potter, 50 Shades of Grey, like these things all, Twilight.
Hold on, Bear.
things.
You missed out one word when you read it. Sort of stolen from for Harry Potter.
Okay, hang on.
Oh,
I am dyslexic. Give me that, please.
Sort of
Gaiman's
stolen
books
from. Or
Sort
Yes,
of stolen from. Wait, no, I'm sorry. Am I not speaking English?
that doesn't grammatically make sense to me. Is
That
that
makes no. Gaiman's book.
is that a
Yeah,
British
yeah.
thing?
Two. let's face it, was sort of stolen from 4 Harry Potter. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
dyslexic. I dropped out the 4 Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
someone
weren't
else
the only
mentioned
one,
it.
Bear. I did the same thing, you know,
Yeah.
when I read it.
My apologies, Kabuki. I love you. You're the best. Don't come to Canada and kill me.
So I wish I had read Fritz Leiber, for example, but I didn't. I didn't connect with that, and now I don't think you can even find this stuff anymore. Can you?
Yeah,
Oh,
you
yeah.
can.
Can you? Okay.
Yeah, we got it's available on Amazon.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Bafford and the Grey Mouser, man. You know?
Here's the thing that I've started noticing, because now that they're doing these big giant collections, I don't want to read just the 100 book. Give me the 800 book, 800 pages where they combine
Right.
4 books together.
Right.
Because I'm cheap. The older I get, the cheaper I become. I'm like, why won't you
Yeah.
let me do this?
Well, they can be hard to hold, though, and one of the things that annoys me a lot is when the print is really tiny. It's one of the reasons I hate C.J. Cherie is that the print.
That's called getting old. It's like,
Oh yeah, but that's
Yeah.
why I go with ebooks. I don't read hardcover books anymore. My eyesight is iffy enough.
I miss secondhand bookstores. We used to have like dozens of them in Montreal. Now we have like next to none. I used to go in
that
and go
sucks.
immediately to the 25-cent bin for paperbacks and just dig through until I found something interesting. And I found a book one time, 1995, right before I flew to Vancouver for the first time in my life to relocate. And I found a book for 25 cents in this one bookstore on Rue Saint Laurent, and it was The Gods of Eden, and it was a conspiracy book. And I picked it up, and there was a UFO in a garden on the cover, and I flipped over the back, and it said, "Have aliens been guiding mankind since ancient times? Are they responsible for the JFK assassination?" I'm like, oh my God, I have to read this book. This sounds wacko.
I'm just.
By the way, guys,
I'm just popping out for 2 minutes
kind
to
of-
catch another one of these. I'll be back in a couple of minutes.
I have to duck out in a moment, but just to get something out quick, I just heard that Horst von Allwarden, the founder of the Zauberspiegel website, passed away in September.
Oh, I don't know who you're talking about.
I don't know.
Okay, Zauberspiegel is the big German science fiction portal.
Okay.
Wow.
And a lot of their stuff gets translated to English. They've translated some of my stuff to English in the past, and it's on there. So I just thought I'd mention that Horst had passed because I hadn't heard. I've been kind of disconnected, and well,
Wayne,
over in Germany, he had.
What part of Soviet Kazakhstan are you in, sir?
Oh, I'm in London.
London, beautiful town, London.
Whoa, you're in London?
No, London,
Yep.
Ontario, not London, England.
Yep. Our only surviving
Okay.
World War II veteran is a tank.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, he doesn't sound like he's from London.
So I'm going to bring up something that Manfred.
I'm from London via Cobalt, via Richmond Hill, via Brampton, via Mississauga, via Rexdale, via Richmond Hill, via Gormley. Moved a lot.
I'm going to bring one thing up that Manfred talks about. As we get older, I remember reading those books. They all had small print. And I'm like, could you just bump it up to like 12 point, fonts? I don't need, like, go look at the old old Dungeon Master's Guide and the old Player's Handbook. It's like 8-point font.
Yeah.
We got to get as many words as possible on the page because we can't afford to use more pages.
Well,
Yeah, that's literally it.
But I mean, look
Anyway, see you later, guys. Have a good evening.
Take it easy, Wayne.
See you later,
you
Wayne.
said Ninth Planet. Gene, do you mean the 12th Planet by Zechariah Sitchin? Is that the one you're referring to, Gene M? I'm just curious because I've never heard of the 9th Planet, but there is a book called The 12th Planet which proposes that the Sumerian Anunnaki and all that stuff, that's where a lot of that comes from, is from that book. Zechariah Sitchin.
But for Manfred, this now has 4 books in it. I only have to buy one, so I don't have to pay like $10. And God forbid, this is the the 3-set compilation of the Stormbringer, the Elric saga.
Well, that's not a book; it's a library, then.
I had those little old books, I think I'm like Bear. I used to like to go to the used bookstores all the time. So I picked up the whole Elric saga once in a used bookstore, and they were the rattiest old things that you could possibly. I think a lot of the pages fell apart while I was reading them, but
I went to read The Witcher this year. I was like, I'm going to read The Witcher finally. I went to the bookstore and they had the box set, and it was $180. And I went, I miss pulp.
Mhm.
And immediately, I want books where I can get a splinter from turning the page, please, because this stuff is ridiculous. And the book quality these days is garbage. The covers are super thin, like cardstock. They're not very durable, and they charge a small fucking old speckled hen. Okay, well, listen, whatever you call your wife is your own business, sir. We're not here to judge.
But no, I agree with Bear. But like some of these, like again, this is the it's that thinner stuff. But that's very similar to what I had when I was growing up as a kid, reading the, when they were like, what was it, $3 or something? And now, like Bear says, like I was looking at the same thing with The Witcher. I was like, holy hell, why is this thing so expensive when this cost me like $12?
Yeah.
From Amazon.
Well, we used to have the science fiction book club in Canada. I don't know if they had it in the States or in the UK, but it was basically like the Columbia Records Club, but for books.
Yeah,
we had that too.
I got so many great collections back in the day off of that like it was, the 12 for a penny, and then you had to buy like 5 more books over the next couple of years at like $15 a book, but they were always hardbacks and collected 3 or 4 of the books in one. It's a great goddamn deal, man.
I'm going to ask you guys, because I used to do, and I don't know, did you guys ever get the stuff in the Time Life series books they would have about? So anyway,
I wanted those. I know the ones you're talking about, the ones on fairies and legend and dragon. I wanted those so badly. I begged my parents to get them for Christmas, but you could only get them from the States. You couldn't get them in Canada, so that was too much for shipping and exchange.
Yeah, but I mean, I got a few of those, and those were some things that inspired me as well. when I was at that age.
Are you guys familiar with Spectrum? Now, this is not
Yes,
fantasy
of course.
literature. Okay. But I get a lot of ideas from reading Spectrum. I mean, just flipping through and looking at the pictures and stuff like that. I've gotten ideas for encounters and adventures and things like that out of there.
Well, it boils down to world design, right? If you design a really interesting world and then you unfold it for me through the story, I'm going to be really invested in what you're writing if there's an interesting story, an interesting world. And there's this one, I cannot remember the name of it. Someone in the chat, please tell me what this fucking book is, because I cannot remember the name of the series. It starts with this war is happening between the North and the South in this fantasy world. And the South are sort of like Islam stand-ins, and the North are Christian stand-ins. And there's a monastery where everything's hidden away. And then at the end of it all, they all get on a ship to go to the New World, and there's werewolves and all this crazy shit. And I cannot remember the name of this fucking book or the series. And every time I ask people if they know it, and they'll go, I don't know what you're talking about. It's like Hawk's Voyage or something like that was one of the books. Maybe, I don't know. Someone in the chat, please know the answer. So I can read these fucking books again.
The other thing I've noticed is while I'll buy the book, I have a problem sitting down to read them. And so I'll also get them an audiobook whenever they have a sale for like 99 cents or whatever. Like, oh, I'll get this one that's 24 hours long, an audiobook.
I've started looking forward to on a Friday, I used to hate having to do the supplier's trip for work. It involved sitting in traffic in the middle of Birmingham, dropping. Now I love it because I've got a Spotify connected to a number of audiobook channels in there, and that's when I do a lot of my listening. So sat in the car, just.
Which one is it, Bear?
It's Paul Kearney. Hawkwood's Voyage is one of the books in this series, I think. Let me look this up. Keep talking. Sorry, I got all excited.
I'm going to bring this up because I know John's not a big fan of it, but I love sci-fi, and so I like a lot of stuff by Robert Heinlein, at least for the ideas. And then the other one I did enjoy, which again, some of these books I've known about, and my mother read them decades ago, and I only have read them in the last 5 years. I do enjoy Dune. I did enjoy that. I did get the after that.
Have you ever read? If you enjoyed Dune, sorry for jumping in, but if you enjoyed Dune, have you ever read C.J. Cherry's?
I can tell you right now, no.
C.J. Cherry?
Faded Sun series. You should pick that up.
Okay.
Yeah, I think if you like that, you will definitely like her Faded Sun series. There's 3 books: Shonjir, Kutath, and I forget the other one. Very Dune-ish. Let's put it that way.
What size is the text?
Shitty text. So get yourself a magnifying glass or get the audiobook or something. I don't know. But it was pretty neat.
Okay, sorry to dominate, but I found what I was looking for.
Oh,
Okay,
good.
tell
The
us.
series is called The Monarchies of God, and the first book in the series is called Hawkwood's Voyage. And I'll just read this really, really quick.
And was it Paul Kearney?
Paul Kearney, yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's an Irish
Is
writer.
Halacar?
Paul Kearney. Published between 1995 and 2002, 5 volumes. Series is noteworthy for its ruthless dispatching of major characters. So true. Its large number of epic battles and its use of gunpowder and cannons. Kurtz also has extensive knowledge of sailing and uses this to inform his description of naval travel and combat. It's really interesting. Like, it's really, really interesting. And I would say for world design, it inspired the living hell out of me.
So I haven't read this, but has anyone read Master and Commander? Because that
Yes.
seems like that would be very good for the nautical.
All the stuff like Hornblower, or if you're into that Napoleonic stuff, you could get into Sharps too. Sharps rifles. Those aren't bad.
I've just remembered a book that I really love. Sorry to interject.
Yep.
I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream.
Oh, hold on. Halacar's just disappeared. After I have put up chapter 3 of the Call of Cthulhu, the next thing I'm going to read for the channel is I Have No Mouth, but I Must Scream.
Oh, yes, I'm all in for that.
It
Let's
is,
go.
Come on, that's sci-fi, John.
It is, yes. It's also horror as well. So, and I'm mixing genres.
So wait a minute. So
horror.
what are you doing to us now? You're telling us that if it's horror,
Whoa,
you make
whoa,
exception?
John.
Is that what it is? I mean,
Has your
I
birthday
had-
made you reconsider some life choices?
I had it suggested, and I thought I flicked through a little bit of it. I thought this will be easier for me to read than Lovecraft, so it might
It's
be.
a
It might.
phenomenal book.
Bear, did you hear this?
What did I hear? What am I hearing?
He makes exceptions for horror if it's sci-fi. I
So
can't
you love
believe my
Event
ears.
Horizon? It's a movie, right? You've watched Event Horizon?
Yeah,
I've never
sure,
seen
of
it.
course.
No, I've never seen it.
But it's sci-fi horror, John.
I've never seen it. I don't watch films.
It's almost Clive Barker-esque meets Cthulhuid.
What about the
I
thing?
don't watch films.
Yeah, well, that's because you're silly. You are a silly person.
But no, Halacar just suggested it as something to read next, just for me to try something different. So I'm going to do it.
God, I read so much stuff like back in the 80s, like Marion Zimmer Bradley and Raymond E. Feist and Eddings and like all that kind of stuff. But I didn't find it particularly bad, but I didn't find it particularly good either. I suppose it's the same way that you think about Glenn Cook, Bear.
I'm going to mention.
Okay, I should really. Okay, so one year I got a gift card from my work for Chapters Indigo, which is a large bookstore chain here in Canada, and it was like a $100 gift card because they gave us 3 choices, and I'm like, well, I don't care about sports, and I don't care about this other thing they offered. This was like Home Depot. I'm like, I don't build shit. Ooh, Chapters, I'll take that because at least I can get some DVDs or something. I talked to a buddy of mine who's a writer. And I said, you know what, man? I haven't read any new fantasy in a really long time. Could you suggest some books to me? Hawkwood's Voyage was one of them. And The Black Company. And there was a couple of others. Tijuana, which was good. And one other I can't remember. I'm like, okay. So I went and I blew my $150 of a gift card, whatever it was, on a bunch of books. And I got the big collected Black Company first volume, 3 novels, whatever it was.
Thought you said you didn't read.
And I read it. And when it was over, I sent him an email. What the fuck's the big deal about this book? It's stupid and makes no sense. The characters are really weird and nobody's motivations feel right. And the principal character is not an evil person living in an evil world. And we're supposed to accept that he just accepts all of this evil around him. I don't understand what the point of all this is. He did the exact same thing. Yeah, but it's about the mercenary company and all that. And that's what really excites people. And I'm like, no, that's what excites 12-year-olds. I'm 45 at the time. I'm like, this is not interesting to me. Sorry. But Hawkwood's Voyage, I really loved because it touches on religion and it touches on world building. Tijuana is a fantastic book. Have you guys ever read Tijuana? Guy Cavriel, Canadian fantasy writer. It's amazing. It's just about I can't even describe Tijuana to you without saying just fucking read it. It's really, really good.
You know what we need to do is we need to put up our list of books we recommend people to read. And
Yeah.
people do that in need to do that in the Discord. Maybe Johnny's put in like novels and literature, books we recommend to read or something.
See, I just want to make a point here that I'm really a Philistine. So I came here originally because John didn't have anybody to talk to in this chat. And now I'm like totally out of my element because you guys are talking about all these books that I wish I'd read. Some of them I've heard about. And I've wished that I read them back in the day, but
That's
I haven't.
part of the point of the stream, though. If you're a reader,
Yeah, I've already got like this, thing here.
The other point of the
I'm writing
stream
down
is-
all these things in the meantime.
the other point of the stream is
everything
just to
that
point
Bear
out that
says.
You think you're out of your element? You people are talking about books that came out before I was born.
Most
Yeah,
of the books
but-
we talk about came out before I was born.
Well,
Yeah,
technically,
same
we
here,
can
yeah.
start talking about Shakespeare and talk about books that came out before any
Oh,
of us.
that's true. That's true, actually.
Or-
I mean,
Or the Chronicles of Prydain, right?
R.E. Howard, Burroughs, all the H.P. Lovecraft. These people were dead before we were even born.
Gene's laying into Bear in the chat.
Oh God, what's he giving me shit
Oh,
for now? Yeah, Gene, I said that earlier. I said it's always going to be subjective, not objective. So for me, subjectively, it was trash writing, but for you, it might be the greatest thing. I love Stephen King. For someone else, it might be trash writing. I don't judge.
I'm going to be the other part too, and like we all talked about, some of it's age, the moment in our lives where it seems to touch us at that one particular point. There's a lot of things where we can suddenly empathize with it, and sometimes I go, you know what? It's not the greatest, but boy, it's just so much fun to read, and I'll accept it. It's your guilty pleasure, and I don't care what anyone thinks.
Right now, I'm just wishing that two of my very well-read buddies were here for you guys and not me. But that's just
You're doing
another-
fine, laddie. Don't sell yourself short.
Manfred, you are at the moment for me. You are busy invoking.
That was pretty good, there.
Thank you.
You're busy invoking Lovecraft because the geometry of your camera is completely out.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, seriously, he's like he's warding off the Hounds of Tyndall.
I don't know. I'm not a YouTuber. Okay. I'm not. Maybe there's a Hound of Tyndalos or something.
No, Gene, I'm not judging. I'm giving an opinion. Judging is when I say you are blah blah blah. That's not. I'm not. I don't. You read them. You love them. That's good for you. You like that. Good for you.
Yeah.
Like,
You know what though?
We live in a world now where the moment you give an opinion, you are immediately now criticizing people who don't share your opinion. That's not true. We used to be able to just discuss things as adults and say, I don't like it, I don't care for it, and here's why.
Our great
Social media ruined that.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Our great and almighty Savior has just arrived in the channel.
Who's here?
Yes.
Hunger! I would like to point
Yeah.
out that as the self-appointed high priest of the Church of Hungar the Starvarian, you are all going to burn in a sugary hell.
Okay, but
Hold on. I'm just going to pause this discussion for a moment. I've recently been playing a little. What did I have for work today? A little bit of Icewind Dale, and in Icewind Dale, you can create a party of 6 characters. Okay, and I would just like to introduce you to my party of 6 characters.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Here we go. So this is just a little bit of a change of tack. Let me just.
We're going
Anyone
back
want
to
to bet
Viz.
Hungar is one of them?
We're going back to Viz, aren't we?
No. Here we go.
Okay, so there's my party.
Put down. We can't see. Put down Hungar's chat. We can't see anything, dude.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, kick that chat in the
okay.
nuts.
Yeah, just unselect. There we go. Now, what are we looking at?
Okay, I see 2 of them.
There we go. There's 2 of them. I couldn't fit the whole name of Merlinster Gandaldorf. The E doesn't quite fit on. The name is too long.
Nice.
He is, of course, the mage in my party. The elven mage cleric, half elven mage cleric, sorry, is Elfbait. Okay. Also in the party, we have an elven thief with a snarky sounding accent.
Is his name
Saxius.
Saxius?
Saxius, yes. We have a dwarven fighter cleric with a fulsome beard who is the party leader. And that, of course, is Hungar.
Ah.
And we also have a very, very big, beefy barbarian with a big beard as well.
Is that Gingerbeard?
No. No, he's called Bear.
Of course,
Um,
of course he is.
And yeah, I've got a druid in the party who's very odd looking with a beard. That's Gingerbeard.
Nice.
So there we go. I just thought I'd share.
Well,
that.
thank you. I feel immortalized, sir.
So there we go. That's
Stay a while and listen.
Exactly.
So I'm going to mention one thing about audiobooks is I'm cheap. So I look at the ones that are the longest that take like 20 to 24 hours I want to listen to. I'm like, yes, that's worth getting the audiobook for.
I can't. They put me to sleep.
Well, you know what is I drive, like I said, I do enough driving that I'll listen to it for an hour or two. And it might take me 6 months to get to the book, but I'm okay with that.
Dear God, if I was driving and I was listening to an audiobook, there would be death.
Anyway, I just thought you'd enjoy the little interjection of the game.
You're adorable, sir. You're adorable.
I
I actually read a D&D novel that I liked.
Oh, which one?
Did you?
Which one?
One of the Nearath books. So this would have been during the 4E era. And they basically, I think Bill Slavisak wrote it. Let me see if I can find the name of it. I always get the
Was
name
that
wrong.
because reading the novel was more enjoyable than playing the game during that?
I actually
period?
like the game, so you can eat a bag of those.
Wait a minute. Who? We all know the doppelganger. We all know that there's the doppelganger now. He's been invaded and taken over by the body snatchers.
I'm sorry, what?
Omen Owl, you were the 7th character on my list, but I didn't have room in the party for a ranger. So
Plus, he'd have to be a blink dog, so he just kept popping in and out, right?
I just phase in and out.
And Manfred, with all the languages, I considered having a bard called Manfred in the party, but then I thought no, bards are crap, so I got rid of that.
It's called The Mark of Nearath, and it's part of the Abyssal Plague Origins series. And it's written by Bill Slavisak, and it's actually not a bad little D&D book.
I'm making loads of notes here. I'm not going to read any of these.
Of course not. Why would you? Oh, you know what's an awful book that gets way too much love, in my opinion? Have you guys ever read the Deed
He's gonna say
Paxenarian?
my favorite book. He's gonna say my favorite. What was
I've
it?
never read what?
Is it the Deed of Paxenarion? Is that the one that would be your favorite book?
No,
So this book is written by Elizabeth Moon, where she was trying to understand D&D, so she read the D&D books and then decided to write a novel about a paladin.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Well, I thought didn't Margaret Weiss said that she was told that she had to, if she wanted to do it, she could write her own, and then they just framed it from there. But no, I thought that was interesting. I don't know. I haven't read it other than the Choose Your Own Adventure books. What was it, Endless Quest or whatever they called them? I didn't read any D&D books because I actually like the world building aspect behind the scenes. Like, tell me how to build the world, because rather than tell me what to read.
I after I read Narnia as a kid, I moved on to Dune, which was the next thing I got from my sister for Christmas. Was the first 3 books of Dune, which I absolutely love to this day. Those 3 books. Don't care for anything after Children of Dune. Don't have any interest in Leto's Golden Path. None of that. But those first 3 are really good. But I also found Xanth, the Piers Anthony books.
Oh, I
had no idea who the fuck Yellow Geek is, but
Yellow Geek. Yellow Geek is in the house. Hello, Yellow Geek. How are you, Yellow Geek?
Comrade Yellow Geek.
Arasha. How are you, Tavarich?
I thought it was Ye Lodge Eek. That's what I said.
Ye Lod Eek. Don't say that in the mirror 3 times.
Ye logic.
Yeah. His evil twin.
Unsurprisingly, Dragonlance has finally reared its ugly head.
Gene, not only are they for 12-year-olds, they've got some really creepy, sexy scenes in them that I remember reading as a 13-year-old going, what the fuck? Like, it was, I think Piers Anthony needs to be on a list. You know what I'm saying? Like, not allowed in the schools. I don't know if he's alive. I don't know. But,
Wait a minute. Wasn't that Isaac Asimov's son that was on the list?
I
Hi, everyone. His name's Omen Allen. He can kill a conversation in 1 sentence.
Anyway, the chat have brought up Dragonlance, which of course has a position in the history of our hobby, because it sort of shaped the way D&D went in the 80s, and you could argue it changed the the landscape for D&D more than any other contemporary book series.
Well,
Now,
didn't they have R.E. Salvatore about the same time though? So one was
I
Dragonlance.
thought he
the
was
other
just
one,
a little bit after.
yeah,
thought
he may have
Salvatore was
been,
a
but they
little bit
were.
after.
But that was right around the same time that Gygax left, and they went to second edition, and a lot of this other things that came out.
Well, before anyone chimes in with the often reported thing about the novel, the modules being based on the books, and that being the problem. The first Dragonlance book came out after the first 3 novels and was written based on the manuscript for the first 3 novels, for the first 3 modules, which were based on Hickman's own game. And then it was turned around the other way, and then the novels came out, and then the modules followed the novels after that. But the first 3 were originally written before the books. So having got that little bit of history out of the way, I read Dragonlance in my teens, and I thoroughly enjoyed what I read. I don't want to go back to them.
Like
I don't want to go
Dragonlance was
back.
fine.
I think the only thing I read from that was from the Dragon, like Dungeons and Dragons stuff, and I'm not even really sure if this is Dungeons and Dragons, was the Deathgate Cycle by Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman. Anybody read that?
No.
Okay. I liked it at the time, but it's like you say, I don't know how it would be if I went back and read it now.
Kabuki, the reason why Dragonlance affected the way D&D went was it changed the style of module writing from a more location-based to a more epic event-based, where you were meant to play a set of preordained characters through the series and following a pre-written plot. There wasn't a lot in those modules to allow people to deviate from the course. It was the odd module, which was a bit better than the others, but they were very, very linear. And there were a lot of modules that came out afterwards that followed the same sort of structure, where it was a case of you'd meet somebody and certain events would be put into place that you could have very little impact over. They were just going to happen, and it was just
just taking agency away from the characters.
Removing a lot of the open world exploration from the series. But I think Kabuki, because as they went into second edition AD&D, a lot of the other modules around the second edition time followed that same sort of structure.
Oh, where it was story based rather than just kind of
the Ravenloft ones. If you look at some of the Ravenloft series, a lot of those were very, very linear, extremely linear, and I've said my piece. I enjoyed the Dragonlance novels, but I didn't enjoy the modules. The modules were just not fun for me.
I mean, I've got to get Bear to Rage quit when I show this one book, but for a nonfiction, dinosaurs and stuff like that are always one of my favorites for inspiration. No,
because he literally just pieced out.
Well, so I mean, I love this stuff in here, like dinosaurs and things like that. But I know that Bear hates dinosaurs, so
he has actually completely gone. He hasn't just disconnected from. He hasn't just dropped his camera out from the stream. He has disconnected completely.
Do that on purpose, or was it just?
I guess so.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
I admire the dedication to the cause.
Now that's comedy.
Yeah.
Kabuki, but second edition had tons and tons and tons of modules. They just didn't really sell because the quality had gone downhill.
Well, they also split a lot of different things. I think there was that. The other problem that I had with it is I didn't like Dragonlance setting, and I did not like the. Well, to be fair, everyone started. They had what? Planescape, Spelljammer, Ravenloft, Dark Sun, the what was the Forgotten Realms. there's a lot of things out there, and it was hard to. Which, to be fair, is I love the fact that they had multiple settings, but a lot of them I just didn't enjoy, and so it's like, okay, I'll just go focus on this area.
I
See,
didn't
the
mind
writing-
that setting because it was a very
What was the
traditional
setting?
fantasy setting. I
Okay.
didn't mind the Dragonlance setting because it was a very traditional fantasy setting. I actually quite liked aspects of the setting with the multiple suns or moons or affecting the magic.
But that was a 1E book. That's a 1E
It
book,
was, yeah,
which is
yeah, it
funny.
was, yeah.
That's what people I think forget about. Oh, I loved Al-Qadim. I loved a lot of. Well, Al-Qadim I think was still Forgotten Realms.
It was, yes.
So was Meztica. And then they moved, I guess, Karator for the Oriental Adventures. There was a lot of stuff in there, but you're right. The modules started becoming even like the super modules. They all started making everything connect, and it was like, well, you do from this to this, and it is kind of, it feels more like a railroad rather than saying, oh, you know what, pop this module in, we'll play that module today, and then pop in another module, and where they don't really have to connect.
So of course, you had these epic series early on, but the emphasis was on the DM to make the connections between the modules a lot. There were sort of tournamenty connections, like teleports to take you into the next one. But if you're playing it as an epic campaign, the teleports are a bit awkward. So the idea was you travel over land with a Greyhawk map, and DM would fill it all in.
Yeah.
But when they came to the super modules, they turned them all into long epic stories with all these encounters in between, which felt very awkward because they weren't written in the same sort of style.
Well, let's see. Let's talk about it, because you have T1 through 4, the with the Village of Hamlet and the Temple of Elemental Evil, and then that was supposed to connect to Against the Slavers, and then from Against the Slavers that was supposed to go into the Against the Giant stuff.
One big epic storyline. Yes.
And I mean, when you look at that, it's like, oh, okay, but where are your characters supposed to do the other things? And then they didn't seem to make as much sense for it. Yeah, it just, whereas I like Against the Slavers at least as the idea for it, but it's kind of like you do that 4-set module and then do whatever you want from there. And then same thing with UK 1 through 3, or I'm sorry, the you know what I'm talking about.
U1 to 3.
U1 through 3, same thing. It's like
Saltmarsh, U1 to 3. But those were originally designed to be connected together, and they did at least fit as a sequence. And they were they were quite location based. You had a lot of flexibility within them to adapt the modules. There were very few events you had to take into account. I mean, look at U3. It was you were basically storming a Sawajin base. How you did it was entirely up to you. How the Sawajin reacted was entirely up to the DM and the actions of the players. The only iffy one in that series was Danger at Dunwater, the middle one, because if you had clever players, they could be all over and done with far too quickly. But U1, the first one of the series, I think is still one of the, if not the greatest adventure module TSR ever did.
See, I liked the Forbidden City. I really enjoyed that one, or not the Forbidden City. It was the
Hidden Shrine.
Yeah, well, no, it's I1. What was it? I1 or whatever, where they went into had the different
Dwellers of the Forbidden City.
Yes, Dwellers of the Forbidden
that.
City. That one I love because that was kind of, it has its own little factions. You can flesh that out much further than what it really is later on.
And its origins were fairly obvious as well in terms of basing on the sort of the pulp literature that I know you like.
Oh yeah, I love that one. I also loved L1. That was another module I enjoyed a lot. Because it was kind of a sandbox aspect. Well, again, that's your B1, that's your X1. A lot of them kind of had your sandbox where you could explore, so.
I respect it, and I can see why it's so useful and so popular with people, but L1 didn't sing to me quite as much as some of the other little sandbox towns did. Village of Hamlet I thought was better, for example. Those little sort of tie-ins between those sort of scripted tie-ins between those previously sequenced but otherwise sort of standalone scenarios that were sequenced together. Those little scripted tie-ins that were put in the super modules obviously were lifted from the Dragonlance influence, the idea of the characters going one long continual journey with everything laid out. And I don't think that was a particularly good step. I think that a lot of that came out of this idea of the big epic quest that had come from Dragonlance and the books and what have you. Anyway, yes, the pronunciation Sahwajin. I would. I couldn't say it.
Well, you know what's funny is you can go online and you can find the guy who created them, and his daughter pronounces it as he would pronounce it. I was like, all right, it's like Sahagwin.
And how was that? Sahwagwin.
No, it's like Sahagwin.
Sahagwin.
Yeah, like SAWHAWGUIN is how she was doing it. But yeah. But you know what? This is the great thing about every game is it's your game and you can pronounce it however the hell you want. So
I think there was an enemy in Final Fantasy X that was called something like that.
Were they a demonic fish person?
Yeah, it was underwater. Yeah, it was in one of the infamously hated underwater sections.
Then they stole that from D&D.
Yeah, they must have done. Sahagin. I think they dropped it. You maybe.
Yeah.
What's this in?
Final Fantasy X.
Oh, whatever you weeb.
I was still looking for good. You know, I hate saying this. I was looking to see like if they had any special theme sales I wanted to buy, and they don't have a big enough discount where I'm going to buy a new video game. I'm like, all right, I'm a cheap bastard. It has to be less than $15.
Humble Bundle. All those games I've got on Humble Bundle.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. I love stuff like that, but I'm a cheap bastard. At this point, it's like, look, it better entertain me for at least 40 to 60 hours, and I'm not paying more than $15.
Yeah, I just did a quick Google. It's Sahagin. Yeah.
Okay.
Ugly fish people.
Yeah.
Right. So, influences of literature on our games. How do you, we're going to get really on? There's only an hour left. I'm going to go back onto the topic. How do you, if you do, think that your taste in literature and exposure to literature has affected how you play and how you run games, if at all it has? I'll include comics and stuff in here.
Descriptions. The descriptions, whether it's Jack Vance or some of these others, and using the words and the economy of words, it paints a picture without you having to be so descriptive. It's like you can just use things, and everyone has a picture, and the picture can be slightly different. Like I was reading Edgar Rice Burroughs, and I was reading, like I said, the Jack Vance stuff, and what they can say in one or two sentences is as much as a lot of people will put in a couple of paragraphs. Just for the feel of it.
Mm-hmm.
The characters in my games are the heroes of the story. They're not nobodies who are just trying to survive in the world. Nothing bores me more than a game where the people that I'm focusing all my attention on don't matter. So just like a good story or just like a good comic, they're meant to be heroic. They're meant to be heroes. They're meant to matter, and it will happen through the course of play, and that's just the way it is. And I know a lot of people in the old school disagree with me, and they all love the. I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
it's a matter.
I like the journey to becoming a hero, and that's what we've always said.
But the thing is, going somewhere.
Yeah, going somewhere. Yes, going somewhere.
But do your characters do they know that they're heroes to begin with? Or
some do. Some believe they are. Find out the hard way they're not the protagonist of the story, and that this other player happens to be the protagonist, and they're the plucky sidekick. Sometimes they find out they're Han Solo, not Luke Skywalker, and they have to deal with that reality crashing in on them.
Yeah, but Han Solo is still one of the most loved characters. It doesn't.
Well, that's the point, right?
That's a very good analogy, actually. It's a very good analogy.
Yeah, I'm full of nuggets of shit. Trust me.
But I mean, but you know, it doesn't matter. Whatever you do, it's the characters are the most important people in your universe storytelling. Doesn't matter if they're if they're doing the world changing. Everything focuses on them, and we care about them and their lives and their.
As you do when you're reading a book. Yeah. As you do when you're reading a book. I mean, yeah, whatever level of heroism they're at, they're still the central characters in the story.
Can you repeat your question, please, John? Because I think I have an answer, but I don't remember now.
I like it.
From the mouths of babes.
I think it was how our literature has influenced our gaming, right?
Yes. So I was going to say that based on whatever genre that I'm reading or watching or whatever, that I have a certain expectation of how things can go. but then you have an opportunity to subvert that expectation.
Subverting expectations is becoming a trope. Okay, it's becoming an overplayed, outworn, tired trope now. It's like I've said, I long, I desire a vanilla fantasy setting, a new whole cloth vanilla fantasy setting. Think about it.
That is precisely why.
What was the last one we got in D&D? Dragonlance. Everything after Dragonlance has got some twist to it, some
Even
wacky
Dragonlance had to. Dragonlance.
No,
had
I'm
to
not saying that you have to put like a plot twist in there. I'm saying,
No. I'm
if
just saying,
I'm
tired
if
of
it's an action fantasy, you have an idea of how it's going to proceed, but you don't have to do it that exact way.
No, absolutely. But I'm just building off of what you said, with the expectations thing. I'm tired of having my expectations subverted. I'd like to have them fucking delivered to me for once.
That's true. You make a good point.
That whole thing of leading into tropes is precisely why in our OSE game I am playing an asshole lawful good strict paladin.
Yeah, that's why.
Oh, it's
Precisely why.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah.
It is fun listening to John being the most misogynistic character ever. It is hilarious whenever he goes
Hey,
through
John,
the-
if you want some more inspiration, just look at the UFC fighter Sean Strickland. He's so out of pocket, man.
No. You have to listen to when he does Albertus. And he says, Madam, shouldn't you be with your husband? What are you doing here? It is hilarious whenever he does it. And we all know it is, and we all laugh at it because we know he's so ridiculous on this. And you're just like, okay, well, just roll your eyes. But no, it's great for those aspects. But I agree with Bear. It's the same reason that, all these people, especially when I was young, want to play evil characters. And as I've gotten older, I'm like, no evil characters, okay? It's not fun for me. I don't enjoy it. I want you to actually want to be heroic and to do bigger and better things rather than going like, well, I just want to do whatever I want without having to have any repercussions. No, it's not fun
Going
for
off
me,
on
okay?
a slight tangent to that, it's
See, I
sort
think-
of like when I was younger, I used to think playing games with cheats was fun, but now I play them without cheats on purpose and think the cheats are boring.
Yes, exactly. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. What was that?
But I was just thinking that I think the evil character thing it's done the wrong way a lot of times. I think evil characters don't necessarily think they're evil. People function perfectly, so in their minds they're trying to do the thing that's right for them.
That's what Christopher Lee said when they asked him how he was so good at playing evil characters. He said, I don't see them as evil. They don't think they're evil. They think they're right.
Yeah.
But that's the difference between a person who's actually evil and an idiot who wants to play edgy evil guy.
Okay.
And here's the thing. I don't mind it if the road to hell's paved with good intentions. I don't mind that aspect. And that's a very classic thing where they think they're doing the right thing and it just DMs them more and more. That's okay. What I'm referring to is the one that's just going to be, he wants to be the Joker kind of aspect and say, "Oh, I'm with this." Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, that's the Anne Rind infiltration in the male mentality, is that self-indulgent, I can do what I want, I'm a special fucking individual bullshit. Okay, I'm going to lose John on this immediately, I know, but have the rest of you ever watched The Expanse?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Read it
Amos.
as well.
Sorry.
Amos is the perfect example of the edgy fucking do what it takes character until halfway through the season you realize he has a heart of gold.
I don't mind.
And you go, oh shit, I actually kind of like Amos now. Even though he's a piece of shit, he's a piece of shit with a purpose. And he has a reason for being a piece of shit,
But see, I would view Amos as a neutral character.
No,
That's
dude,
my
he's willing to kill people dead on arrival without even thinking about it twice. The minute you're willing to just kill someone, you're not neutral anymore.
Well, but he doesn't do it without purpose. Is my point. That's
the thing. We learn that later about the character. So you can play your edgy evil lord, edgelord, but as long as the character needs to have a heart of gold that we can then learn later, so we can actually find something in the character that's redeemable. Because if we were to watch a show or read a comic or watch a movie where the characters were just evil for the sake of being evil, where's the connection for us as the viewer, unless we're a psychopath?
I think
his character. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, I think the best kind of evil is relatable evil, where you can actually think there's a human purpose to why they're doing what they're doing, rather than, I just want to take over the world.
Yes.
But
Yeah, I
no.
really.
So Dexter, for example, I don't know if anyone's seen Dexter.
Yeah, I've seen parts of it.
Yeah, I couldn't stand that show. It was so dumb.
Well, the idea is he kills people, but he kills other bad people.
Yeah,
So
he's
it's
a
like, is he
serial
really
killer
that bad?
who kills evil people. Yeah. So he
But-
gets
No, but then the morality comes in. It's like, is he a bad guy because he kills people, or is he good because he kills bad people?
But it's not a morality judgment because it boils down to him deciding who's good and who's bad. So it's a God complex story. Therefore, he's bad. No matter what his actions are, no matter how good his
you could say
intentions
that.
are,
That's
he's
true.
still bad.
Again, I don't mind the morally complex where they have to make hard decisions and they're making either they make the wrong decision or they make a decision because they have to. That's fine. I enjoy those kind of characters. What I don't enjoy is the psychopaths. Is my point, which is what a lot of them are. It's
Yes.
like, a perfect example would be anyone that's watched Game of Thrones is when you have the character that's the Mountain. He's not,
Right.
I don't want him in my party. Just to be honest. Now, if you get a Sandor Clegane, okay, fine.
So
That's
no
fine.
mountain, but yes to the hound.
Yes, exactly.
Mhm.
But which
Mhm.
one are you going to want in the fight, brother?
Exactly.
Well, as long as there's no fires.
Exactly. I'll take the mountain in the fight, but the hound for just the comedy. Just
Yeah.
listening to him call every NPC you meet a fucking cunt is going to be brilliant.
I'm good with the other part, which is I don't mind it if the players are going to be comically evil, where we all know it's tongue in cheek and it's supposed to be completely humorous. That's fine, but that should be set up well before the game. The problem
Yeah,
that
that's
I have,
mustache twirling evil.
Depends on the
That's a
tone
different
of the
beast.
game.
yeah,
Yes, dastardly evil.
So, at
Yes.
risk of once again proving myself to be that Star Trek guy, I'm rewatching. I just finished rewatching the first season of The Next Generation, and there's the episode "Skin of Evil," which is the last episode of Tashi Yar, where they meet the creature called Armus. And Armus is a creature who was created by another race who ascended to such beauty and perfection they removed all evil and negativity from themselves, and it coalesced as this being. Right? He's written as purely evil. And if you watch it and you listen, everything he does is for his own amusement. Everything he does is for his own choice. He has no higher purpose. And then Troy fucks with him because she gets inside his head a little bit and she's like, you're lonely. And that's what you're scared of, is that everyone's going to leave you alone again, just like the ones who created you did. And it's really good because you're like, yeah, he is fucking evil. But even as an evil creature, he has emotions. I can now relate to him on that one level of, I can understand the fear of being abandoned by everyone you knew. Like that's weird. Mustache twirling evil. That's the prince from Princess Bride.
yeah. I mean, if you have a bunch of characters like that, that can be fun for because you all know it's going to be ridiculous. And it's
Jerome.
just because,
Yeah.
Jerome, I love to watch you work, but I've got my wife to kill. My wedding to plan, my wife to kill, and build in the frame for it.
Yeah, and Florin to frame for it. Frankly, I'm swamped. Chris Sarandon,
that
amazing
film.
actor.
Have you, John? You've never seen that either, have you? Oh, John.
You've never seen The Princess Bride?
I want to go and you can read the books too. You can read the books. The books are good as
I
well.
have no words for my level of disappointment.
I just want to go over to John's place, with Bear and Omanal, and get a lot of popcorn or something, and just
why are you dragging me into this?
in the Clockwork Orange thing, hold his eyes open so that he has to
Brother,
watch.
That is a phenomenal book.
Hey, look, guys. If you get I can't give you a place to stay, but if you want to come for the solar eclipse, I'll feed you.
Has anybody seen the film Bubba Hotep?
Yes, I love Bubba Hotep.
Okay,
great. That's completely ridiculous. with Elvis and JFK fighting a mummy in an East Texas nursing home.
That's
John.
I just think John would love that too.
What's it called?
Bubba Hotep. You're gonna love
Bubba Hotep.
It is a. Do you have to realize it's a B-rated film that
it's a B-rated film?
Yeah. It's got the same guy that was in Evil Dead.
I can't think of his name either.
Yeah, all I can think is Ash, which I'm like, oh come on,
yeah.
Bruce Campbell. Bruce
I
Campbell.
I didn't even realize that was him in there, but okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's Bruce Campbell playing the part that he was always meant to be, which was Elvis. And he plays. The whole premise was.
Are you shitting me? I step away from the computer for 2 minutes. You start talking about Bubba Hotep and Bruce Campbell. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Were we supposed to include you? I'm sorry.
We're just like this.
I didn't think you'd like that.
I would never expect the term Bubba Hotep to ever come up in this group.
And it was Manfred that did it. And I watched it the same week that I watched also Comic Strippers at the Alamo Draft House. So
and John,
I saw that movie in the theaters when it came out.
John, you could actually watch. You could actually watch the Princess Bride because there's no gore in it at all. Absolutely
no gore, no
none.
sci-fi.
Yeah, and you would love it. It's the parody. It is the parody of all the princess fantasy kind of standard fantasy.
Damsel in distress sort of thing.
Thank you. I couldn't. The words in German were coming to my mind. So.
In
German, it's a Dagen film. Okay, so
and that's the other part too. And I know that we're all talking. I know that we've gone down to movies, but just the classic one-liners in there.
Yes.
To this day,
if we're talking about one line,
leaving the room, will say, "Good luck storming the castle."
Yeah, exactly.
That's the way it is.
If we're talking about one-liners, we have to mention Airplane.
Oh,
That's
Airplane.
way off topic.
Well, yeah, it's a different kind of thing.
Yeah,
It's like
This stream was meant to
by
be
the way,
about-
Ozzie Davis is the guy who played JFK in Bubba Hotep, which is really
This
yes,
stream was
Ozzie
meant to
Davis,
be
a
about
black
literature.
actor, played JFK. Watch the movie to understand why.
This stream is meant to be about literature rather than films for a reason.
Yes, but most of these films were books before they were
would that
filmed.
reason be because you're pretentious and British, sir?
Because I don't watch many films.
Why not?
Attention span.
No, hang on. Intervention time. Why don't you watch film?
I'm very, very easily distracted. That's the thing. And I will sit and watch a film by myself.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm in a room where people are talking, like with the family and whatever, I get very frustrated.
So there's this thing on the end of your wrist called your hand. And what you can do is you can the back of their heads and go, "Shut up, we're watching
They
the
don't
movie."
shut up. They don't. They turn around
And
and go,
then the hand becomes the fist. It's a magic item.
Wait a minute.
Ye old geek's magic fist.
Exactly.
Hold
Oh,
it. We need to create something called the Way of the Bear. And
The way of the bear, yeah.
That's right. As you go up in levels.
I think it exists at certain clubs in town. You understand, sir?
Oh God.
No. I actually part of
help
the
me.
reason that the part of the reason we focus on literature is so if we have another one of these, we can throw in movies as the next.
That's the other thing as well.
I think I just wet my pants.
Your sex tape.
I mean, as I said, I will be going to Clericon next year. Sean has offered to put me up, and he is threatening to force me, Clockwork Orange style. I do know the reference there. I haven't seen the film. To sit and watch various fantasy classics
Are you going for the whole week? Is that it? You're going to spend a week in Toronto with Sean? Is that the idea?
I'm probably going to spend 4 or 5 days there. So
if you guys are doing it the weekend of, I would absolutely love to go to the hotel room and watch you be forced to watch shit. Like that would just be awesome.
Ludovico style.
I mean, I'm more interested in the idea of going for a beer the night before and stuffing my face and getting very drunk.
I'm down, man. I'm going to Claricon next year. 100% going.
Hey, John. It's just like we had a D&D game. You all sit around. There's a bunch of beer and pretzels. And you just
fuck no! You can't put a bunch of role players in a tavern. Oh no! What happened to the con? Well, a halfling wandered into the bar and gave us a quest.
Is this the one with like the guy who's a minister or something like that? Or?
Yes. Aaron, the dungeon minister.
Yes.
Okay.
Dungeon minister. Yeah.
I will only if I plan properly and get myself a different SIM card to go with my phone or something, because I'm not going to pay the roaming charges.
You can just get one while you're there.
I'm going to stream portions of it live on my channel because I'm not an uptight person about things like that.
You know what I found funny? It was only like $10 or $15 more for me to get to text around the world. So
You
Are
can
there a
just
lot
get a
of
new
people
SIM
around the
card in
world
the
who like to
country that you
torment with your
travel
pet?
into.
Mac. Thing is, one of the main noisemakers was in the British judo squad, and she can fight back.
So have you heard about these things? They have these things in the UK called tasers.
Yes, we're not allowed to have them.
Okay, so
Yeah, they're illegal.
Turn a everyday household lamp into a taser.
hey, you know what? You know, all you have to do is charge up a capacitor and just throw it at people.
And that's why Omanal is on the FBI watch list.
Me pretending
the
not
only
to listen.
It's not the only
I thought
reason.
there was another reason for that.
Yeah.
I thought that was the content of his hard drive.
Oh. Wow, John.
Yeah, let's not go there.
That's a bit brutal, John. A bit brutal,
I can be
son.
brutal when I want to
And I'm the guy pitching domestic abuse, and I'm telling you went too far.
It's all just a bit of
Yeah, but is that domestic abuse or is it discipline though?
No, just no. I'm not going there. No.
So when you bring it up, it's fine, but when I make a joke about it,
No. You misinterpret, sir. I'm not going to bring up the response I had in my head that would have taken the conversation further and gotten him completely fucking kicked off YouTube.
Iman is beginning to feel the repression inherent in the system.
Don't see the violence inherent in the system. Bloody peasant. Oh, did you hear that? Dead giveaway.
I speaking of
that's a movie, John. It's called The Monty Python's Holy Grail. It's from your country. It's a movie. It's not a book.
I've seen
It's a cult movie. You've seen it?
You've seen a movie?
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
I've seen it multiple times, but I don't pay enough attention to be able to quote every part of it.
Do you need to lie down for a minute because you admitted you saw a movie?
No, I need to lie down because he admitted he saw a movie.
Fair.
What about The Life of Brian? Have you seen The Life of Brian?
I will say now that Life of Brian is one of my favourite films.
He's not a messiah. He's just a very naughty boy.
Excellent. Okay.
To this day, me and my friends will get into the whole. Hey, but what have the Romans ever done for us anyway? We'll just get into that whole tirade. You know?
There is some hope. Bear, there's hope here.
I think the stoning scenes one of the funniest scenes I've ever seen.
All I said was that piece of halibut was good enough for Jehovah.
All right, so we got grumpy old Slan. Yep,
we've got the Slan back. Hello,
Slan. Put your computer on.
He's back! Yay!
Yeah, that's
Life of Brian is genius. Yes.
Yeah. I was. This was why I was afraid to go towards movies. I'm like, they'll dominate everything initially. We have to save up for another.
For me,
Wednesday.
Well,
thanks.
I mean, a lot of these movies, like if you look at The Princess Bride, it was a book before it was a movie, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
Morgenstern and I can't speak for Bubba Hotep, but
the meaning of life. There you go, R.W. Bishop.
Even the 13th Warrior.
Manfred, you never answered the last question I asked. Going way back. What you've read and whatever influences how you game. You are one of the better, more widely read people here. So
I don't think so. No, not at all. Definitely not. I don't even know how to answer that question because I think I just take like little pieces of things and like, okay, I like this aspect of this world here, and so I use it. Or I like this character here, or I like how something is described, and I'll take that and I'll build little pieces of it into my game somewhere. But I'm not one of these people that really has like I used to have an overview. I used to have my shit together, but now I don't have any kind of concept about what I'm doing. So, I'm over 50. So it's
what is this shit together? What is this?
Poop in a group.
It is not the way of my people.
I was going to say to people in chat, despite his full head of hair and lack of grey hair, Manfred is the oldest person on this street.
How old are you, Manfred?
I'm 69.
Bullshit.
No, I was born in 69.
Oh, so you're 1 year older than me. Slow the fuck down, Tiger Lily. What month?
August.
You're 11 months older than me. Shut the fuck up. The oldest guy. Oh my god.
I didn't say it. John said it.
No. You're getting the shit. John gets the pass because John's watched the movie. So I have to give John a pass for a little bit because John.
And Mon's the baby. He's just old enough to be all of our sons. You know.
I just turned 29. Yeah.
Oh my God, Time Bandits is an amazing movie. Kabuki Kid. And have you guys ever heard the story of how they got Sean Connery in it?
Because he did Zardoz and he has his
Nope.
downhill.
Nope.
I heard it, but I forgot.
When they wrote the script, they literally wrote in the stage descriptions, when Agamemnon takes off his helmet, it's Sean Connery, or if we can't afford him, someone else, right?
Yeah.
Someone who was working on, who was a part of that group, was working on a film with Sean Connery and showed him the script and went, "Look at this joke." He's like, "I'll fucking do it."
I want to know if
I'm in much get it done. I'll be the one you want me to be.
I'll do it.
I want to know if
I'm
Amon
the
has ever
Agamemnon.
seen.
I'll do it spiffingly.
I want to know if Amon has ever seen Zardoz. That's
Have you
what
ever seen
I wanna know.
Zardoz? Oh, dude.
Oh, dude.
Okay, Iman,
Oh.
have you ever done mushrooms?
A few times, yeah.
Do them again and watch Zardoz.
Hang on, let me Google it. How do you spell this?
Z-A-R.
Zardoz. He's in the
Yeah.
UK. He pronounces the letter properly.
1974 sci-fi fantasy.
Trust me. Don't stop. Don't do any
No,
research.
no. I'm just
Don't
checking.
spoil.
Okay.
Don't even look at pictures. Just rent it, download it, take some mushrooms, and watch it.
And you know what?
When you
You
say
know
wait,
what, Iman?
wait, what kind of dose?
What?
No, don't, Iman. The thing is you don't even need to take the mushrooms because that film is mushrooms.
Manfred, you're ruining it.
Okay.
You're
Oh,
ruining
okay.
it, Manfred.
Okay, sorry. Anybody ever see A Boy and His Dog?
Yes,
Yes,
of course.
I know what. Yes.
Don Johnson. Weird ass film.
Well, you know what? At least they ate her at the end.
I like those films that are just the whole film is a setup for a one-liner at the end. You know, like Wizards. you
Yeah.
Oh,
know?
yes.
I'm glad
And-
you changed your name.
yeah.
You son of a bitch.
So we've completely ignored literature. We're
So
on movies
Wizards
now.
is a
Yep.
fantastic D&D
Yeah.
inspirational
Sorry.
movie, by the way. If you watch Wizards, Bashki's Wizards, you'll get a lot of D&D inspiration out of it. That's really good. Another one for me is 1984's Sandal Bergman Opus She. Have you guys ever seen She?
Yes, I've seen she.
The 1984 version. It's a cheesy, low-budget, post-apocalyptic movie, but watch it, pay attention, and then figure out you could do an amazing sand crawl, because everyone loves sandboxes, out of that
She-
setting. As
As
a
well
D&D.
as SHE.
SHE, yeah. A lot of people reviewed it as SHIT, but they were wrong. And it's one of my favorite bad movies.
But-
It's the title of one of the most epic songs by Fields of the Nephilim for anyone who's got.
Okay, I'm going to go away now because he's getting weird again.
Wow, you know. No, what was the other one that I left was Fire and Ice. That one I
Oh,
love.
Fire and Ice.
You know, if you want to talk about movies for that, but I didn't want to make this a movie thing because we'll stay on this. Forever.
Okay, so let's go back to books. Let's go
Yes,
back to
yes.
books. Did anybody ever read Constantine Storm's Ray Thufu? I don't even know how to pronounce it.
No. All I watched was I read Hellblazer, which had Constantine as the magic user in a
Okay.
modern setting.
Okay. I just wondered if anybody had read that or not.
Did
And
we
what they thought of
discuss Thomas Covenant yet?
I don't think so.
It was
But
mentioned.
I'm
in
going to write
chat.
it down.
You want to read a story about a piece of shit protagonist? Thomas Covenant's the way to go. The guy's a POS, man.
Okay.
And to be fair, I did enjoy the series that they had on NBC or whatever for John Constantine, and I just like.
We just said we're going back to
I
books.
know,
Coming out. The fuck? I swear to God, your brain is.
I
fucking
mean, like,
squirrel.
what I realize is that I've read probably far more literature than I've read fantasy stuff, which is kind of
Have
scary.
you read Legend? Grimmel?
I don't think so.
He's a Brit. He wrote this. Was the first series in the books. They actually want. No, I'm going to shut up so I can talk about movies. But they did a good comic out of it.
You know, well, I liked reading some of the stuff for, which is not, I guess it's counts. I'm not sure this counts as literature or not, but a lot of the nonfiction, like Bloody Spears, which talks about the Aztec view or the native view of the invasion of the Spaniards. That was interesting. And then this one's kind of pseudoscience as well, but the Giza Power Pyramid, which would be so cool to put into a setting. which is that the pyramids are actually produce power that are absorbed through the obelisk to power the society.
Do you guys also have this problem that you come up with like a really cool game environment and you're like, you've been working on this thing for months and you're ready to roll it out to your players and you're like, okay, guys, this is it. And it's got this and it's got this. And one of your players just says to you, oh, Omanal invented Spelljammer or something like that.
Oh, fuck yeah, all the time.
Or, like this has happened to me. This has happened to me several times, and like John, in a way, I sort of live in a bubble with regard to gaming stuff. Like I missed everything from 2E to 5E basically. So there's like, I guess I did I have a life?
1992
anyway.
to 1992 to 2012 didn't exist.
Yeah.
Sharing screen with you there, John.
I can see it.
David Gimmel's Legend, and they did a graphic novel, but it's a novel first, and he wrote a bunch of series novels in the series. At the end of the day, he's a Brit. He's unfortunately no longer with us. There are many people who swear by this series as one of the best post Conan Howard type series. You should really check it out. There you go.
We must all be sensible now because we have common sense joining the stream for the last half an hour.
Let's hope that he's better read than we are.
Actually, if you look at like all the stuff we're throwing out there, we're throwing a lot of books that it's like only like one of us has read. It's like, oh yeah. I did see the Fred Saberhagen's. I haven't read it, but I've heard a lot about
the Book of Swords. Yeah, I never read them.
But
Slan has currently muted himself, so he'll join us when he's ready. I just tried to unmute him, but
greetings.
Oh, you are.
Man.
It's fine.
Adding some class to this group of reprobates.
That is unfair to bear.
The lower class.
Whoa! Wow!
It wasn't a shot at you. I was just saying that you have some class too there.
No, I don't. I'm a class. I'm a barbarian. Remember? John made me a barbarian.
Gene's still having digs at Bear.
Yeah.
Gene's just having fun. See, here's the difference between, say, Gene and L. Gene's taking shots at me, and he's putting a smiley face at the end of them, so I know he's just taking the piss. You know what I mean? Other people can be mean, and then I get mean, and then it's not fun. But hey, Slan, what's up, man? How was CleriCon, by the way? You going next year?
I'm planning to go next year for sure. It was a lot of fun. I greatly enjoyed it. So we have to.
Je viens l'année prochaine. I'm going next year for sure.
Faut s'arranger pour être ensemble dans le char puis tout là.
Peut-être. On va... Okay. Oh, sorry. Maybe. Yeah, we could see about doing that.
Sorry.
I will say this much, Grumpy Old Slan, is when Mage's Musings put up, when Sean put up the picture, I was like, oh, is that what he looks like?
Those of us who play games every week knew what Slan looks like. He's appeared on camera in our games.
I haven't seen him on a camera, so yeah.
I know what he looks like, and I'm not even that regular.
So, Slan, how well read are you? I'm guessing very well read.
Well, I'm okay read, but I have to say when I say that, I do compare myself to people who read a lot more than me. I know someone who manages to read 1 to 2 books per day. Mind you, part of her job is to review books. So, yeah, I think I've read a fair number. Now, I missed a whole big chunk of the stream, unfortunately.
Well, we're promoting you to like master the stream now because we.
What do you mean we? Manfred keeps like throwing us onto this group pile. We're going over to Ye Old Geek's house. We're doing this. Man, you've been in Germany too long because your mentality is now, when I have an idea, everyone must agree.
Yes.
Some typhoon.
Yeah.
We're marching on Birmingham tomorrow.
Anyway,
I'm down.
The floor is yours to talk about.
The floor is yours. Okay. So I'm going to toss out a bunch of writers, which I don't know if they were talked about. So E.R. Edison, who's written some great fantasy, best known titles, probably The Worm Ouroboros. Lord Dunsany, you have to read some Lord Dunsany, especially if he he's had a great influence on Lovecraft, but also on a lot of fantasy people. He's great. I haven't read a story of his that I don't like. Has anybody mentioned Roger Zelazny's
Yes.
We did.
works?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I don't know because, like I said, I missed most of the stream,
none of us have
unfortunately.
read them. That's I don't.
Oh,
Yeah. Yep.
Speak for yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well,
Yeah.
you weren't on at that point. I think.
As I've said, Last
was.
Defender of
Yeah.
Camelot is my favorite short story
yeah.
of all time.
Oh,
He
yeah,
was
we did.
actually on. Yep. Yep.
yeah.
just
Unicorn
introduced a bit-
Variations is a great little short story Zelazny wrote about a guy playing a chess game with, I believe it was an ogre. It's been a long time since I read it. And he plays the first few moves and goes, okay, I'm tired. Let's go. I'm going to go away. But he's come across a unicorn and started a chess game with that unicorn. And he sort of plays, the in-between, chess game in order to protect humanity from fairy kind of thing. But yeah, sorry about that.
I've just got to make Omanal, you've got your Inspector Gadget pose on, so I've got to do something here that is authentic and levitate you to the top of the stream. There you go.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's cool.
I'll get you next time.
Yeah.
Gadget.
Obviously Amber is great. I quite enjoyed it. I'm going to mention a totally different writer who's probably unknown to everyone here, is highly likely. His name is Yves Menard. He's a Quebec writer. He's got this particularity that he writes in both English and French. And he has this one fantasy. He's got two fantasy books that are good. The first one, and that were published in English in the US. The first one is called The Book of Nights. Really, really imaginative, really great. And Chrysanthe, Chrysanthe. Both are great fantasy books, very different from what we're used to. And also, in both cases, it's like, nope, this is not part of a series. I told the whole story. This is it, And both, I highly recommend both of them.
Have you?
So, how do you spell his name?
His Yves is spelled
Correctly.
Yves.
Why?
Menard is spelled Meynard.
Okay.
Have you read any Guy Caravel K?
I've read some short stories of his. I have a pile of books of his.
Read Tigana.
I need. Yes, I know. That's part of the pile of books.
Just
For
pull it
those
out,
who
read that one first.
yeah. And for those who don't know, Guy Gabriel Kay is one of the people who worked with Christopher Tolkien on Tolkien's papers and to get it all together for publication. And after that, he decided, well, let me give a shot at it. So if you like Tolkien, you're likely to really like him also. So yeah, Guy Gabriel Kay, another great writer. For those who want more urban fantasy, there's Charles DeLint that's written a whole bunch of stuff. I like his earlier stuff more, but he's a very good writer. I know earlier we talked about Ursula K. Le Guin, so I'm just not going to go over again about how great she is, but she's great.
Wait,
and I'm going to go with Ursula K. Le Guin.
Ursula K. Le Guin. Okay.
Yeah. The Earthsea books.
Wow. Yeah, Earthsea, exactly. No, I'm surprised Manfred doesn't know her.
Yeah, that's really surprising.
Oh, the
Told you guys I'm not very well read.
Fantasy series.
Yeah, she did Earthsea. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I never read.
And a lot of other stuff. It's just incredible. And
I'm putting the in how well read we all appear to be. I'm putting the there we go. That seems to be pretty much about where we are in terms of how well read we are.
Wait a minute.
so,
have I got these two the wrong way around?
yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. That's more like it.
I'll bet you that if you notice for most, because I don't know about Country Old Slan, it seemed like we really just devoured everything up until
Yeah.
the early 90s. And then after that, we're just like, oh, okay, we'll do other things with our lives. And,
Well, yeah, we had jobs by then.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, what happened with me was when I was at, I don't know, 13 or 14, I lived in a suburban town on the West Island of
Which town?
Montreal.
Which town? Which town? Which town?
Beaconsfield.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Okay. But I read out their library of all the science fiction and fantasy pretty much. And, you know, at one point I said, okay, let me start at A and just go through it, find the books I haven't read, read them all. And then I found, okay, I've read them all. But what happened is when I got onto the work market, my first job, unfortunately, involved like an hour and a half commute. I read a lot because of that, and I spent a lot of money on used books. So I kept reading because of this, and I got into the habit of always reading when I was, you know, on the bus or in the metro, the subway for non-Montrealers.
Dude, I used to come from our gaming sessions in Dorval back to Montreal West, where I was living, and at middle of the night reading books, listening to Marillion's Misplaced Childhood on my Walkman. Trust me, like I know what you're talking about.
You were on the 211 going the opposite
the
way.
90. I was on the 90.
Oh my god. Okay.
See, now you guys have an advantage over Omanal and I because you guys have trains. So I didn't get to do any of that stuff until I got to Germany.
Well, to be
buses,
fair,
man.
To be fair, I was a young child in Germany when I got this, you know, so I got the exposure of it all.
So when did you leave Germany? How old were you when you left?
Time?
When were you run out of Germany?
It was 19 to 1983 and 1993 to 1995.
Okay, that's interesting.
So I was in Bad Kreuznach and Frankfurt.
Oh wow,
and,
you were in BK,
Heidelberg.
okay.
And Heidelberg. Okay. So yeah, it was you know. So I got a lot of the exposure from that. And then
so the first time I came here was in '84 on a class trip, and then I did a university semester in 1991, and then I came permanently starting in '97.
Okay.
So we're kind of like flip side of each other.
Yeah. I'm going to mention something that I know we mentioned Edgar Rice Burroughs, but how could I forget the Tarzan series? Yeah. I read those books all the way through, which was like 26 of them. And I can't remember just about anything from that.
Well, if we're just naming trash,
well, I remember
I read all the
me, Tarzan, you, Jane.
Well, but you know what's funny is that's never how the books were. That's
no, I know.
And I was like, no, it's a very different person. Yeah. And I think actually the most recent Tarzan movie probably did the best job of showing how he actually was, rather than the stuff that we see beforehand.
So going back to some classic authors, Elsprague de Camp, Lynn Carter, Powell Anderson cannot recommend enough.
So Grumpy, you're mentioning the authors. Can you mention the specific series of books or things? Because
the thing is that a lot of these writers have written so much. There's no one series because most of them wrote in the 40s and 50s. A lot of their books are actually putting together a bunch of short stories that were set in the same universe. Some of them are just, here's one book, that's it. Powell Anderson has written so many books. Some are in the same universe, but there's so many. Somebody once said that all of science fiction is variations on a theme by Powell Anderson. Because if you name whatever story idea, a generation ship, poof, he's got one. You want like a time travel story, poof, he's got one. You know, he names something, he's written some of it, and it's good and it's interesting. It's always fun to read.
Who was the first one you mentioned?
The first one I mentioned,
Carter,
Elsprague de Camp.
Elsprague de Camp. Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta say, and this is maybe it's just me, but I'm shocked by some of the ones you guys are like, who's that? And I'm like, really? Those people are like ubiquitous in this house.
See, that's why you should be above me. And
I haven't read them because I don't. Well, so here's what I don't read: Lovecraft mythos, ever. Because I did my duty. I read a couple of his stories. I read At the Mountain of Madness. I read Call of Cthulhu, and I read Dream Quest of the Unknown Cadet. And I was like,
what about Shadow over Innsmouth?
No, I don't care. I hate him. I do not enjoy his writing. I'm not a fan.
So that's kind of how I feel about Lovecraft too. I mean, I'm not really a big fan. I liked a couple of the things, but once you've read a couple of them, you've kind of got the pattern.
Hey, here's an indescribable horror. Okay,
Right.
that's really useful in a book.
Yeah.
Something that's indescribable.
But John is like, there are daggers coming out of his eyes right
Yeah, it's
now.
okay.
I
He's
think
more than happy to.
He's going to come up
You
with some
gonna get me, John,
incantations.
because I don't love your Lovecraft? Is that what it is? Huh? Where's your Cthulhu now? Where's your Cthulhu now?
Uh-oh.
He's watching. He's waiting.
He's dreaming in real life.
Listen, I've got 2 cats from Kadeth here. I think I'm safe.
All my favorite Cthulhu has to involve, the high, involve Conan and things like that, So, I enjoyed it, but I read it, and a lot of times I don't say, "Oh, I have to go back and reread this." And like, there's other stuff I need to read.
Yeah, I like to. When it comes to games, I like to put the characters into something and then put a twist in there. Like if I was gonna write an adventure, I would want it to be like something that is like Dusk to Dawn or Stargate the movie. If the guy at the end really was a demon, and not just somebody that I thought was a demon or something like that. Like I'd like to. I try to put a twist like that into the game if I can.
We mean thought was a demon. He is. He's an alien. His body is
no, but
possessed.
but it was all technology in the end.
Well, it's a sci-fi show or movie.
Yeah, but wouldn't it have been really cool if they found out that he really was a demon?
I thought it was really cool the way they did.
They're thinking that it's really just technology and that they can beat this guy because he's just got tech and. You know what I'm saying?
I just want to mention here. I used to play a browser-based game where one of the guys who was quite loud on the message boards got into Scientology.
Oh
no!
My reaction to that was to change my username to L. John Hubbard and troll him mercilessly until he left.
Okay, so I couldn't say this earlier in the chat because it's too long to explain. But there's a convention. There used to be a convention in Vancouver called VCon, and they used to hand out this award called the Elron Award. That instead of, contrarily to all the other awards, would celebrate the worst literature published in the genre in the previous year. And so the award consists of, those lemon juice containers that are in the shape of a lemon that you squeeze the juice out?
Yes. Yes.
They take one of those that's empty, they spray bronze paint on it, and they stick it on a cellulose base, specifically a gore novel.
Oh, gee.
Yeah. And John Norman wins one every year, and the committee lived in fear for years that he would show up and request all his trophies, please.
But you know what though is so, and I don't know, I've never read them. I heard that the first few are fine, but after that I hear that it's just BDSM kind of stuff. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of like what the Horse Clans and a lot of the Dragonlance stuff was like? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, there was a writer. He's written under a whole bunch of pseudonyms in the 50s. He's British, and basically he soon discovered that the publisher he was working for was paying him, for so many words. They didn't actually care about the quality of the words.
Nosorian, I've actually seen bits of this, and Nosorian, I think you should extract your brain and cleanse it with bleach. Your skull.
Yeah. When I watched Battlefield Earth, we fast forwarded through all the scenes to get to the ones where my ex-brother-in-law was in because he played one of the aliens, and he told
which guy is that?
He played the guy that gets accidentally shot by the human and all the other aliens laugh at him for being dead. Yeah, that was him. So and he played a whole bunch of others too because they didn't have enough tall people to play all the aliens.
So let me describe what filming that movie was like for everyone who wants to know. It was 40-degree plus, one of the hottest summers we've ever had in Montreal.
Bear, were you in it then? Were you in
Yes,
Battlefield?
sir, I'm in that one. And those of us who played Cyclos had 90 pounds of gear on us at all times.
Yeah.
We were
My
walking
friend-
in stilt boots that were 3 feet tall, and our feet went in them like this.
Yeah.
They had lied to us during casting, saying we're only going to use those for the long shots, and you'll be on risers for the medium shots. Bullshit. We were in them all day, every day. They would
John
take us
complained about
aside
that all
after
the
a
time.
take and tip our heads pieces up to drain all the sweat that was collecting out. Travolta shows up a week after we've been shooting. He has half the amount of stuff we have on, and he passed out from heat exhaustion, and they had to hook up a fan system to pump cold air into his costume while the rest of us were sweating our balls off and our feet were getting mangled. I have emotional scars from making that movie.
And I can attest to the truth of that because John, my ex
John who? John Topor?
Yeah.
John, I'm in every scene with John. John and I were like buds,
okay,
man.
so you know who he is. He
John
complained
we're
about the
great
very
friends,
same
John.
things.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
You know, so I could
And
attest
John
to the
had
truth
my
of
back
this.
because I was getting a lot of shit from the crew for complaining because I was in pain every day. And then John finally turned around and went, "You realize the man has a size 15 foot and they put a size 14 shoe in those boots, right?" And everyone just shut the fuck up after that because they realized, oh, okay, never mind. You know, like John's good
a great
shit.
guy.
Isn't he in Toronto now?
I think so. I've kind of lost touch, but yeah, I believe that the last time I heard, which was admittedly a few years ago, that's where he
sorry
was.
to Canadian here, you guys.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
no, that movie was hell to shoot. Absolute hell.
Yeah.
We sat there looking at the script going, what the fuck are they doing while they're all running around acting like they're making Star Wars? And we're like, have you read this?
So if you don't mind, Bear, how much should they pay you for all that suffering?
I made a lot of money on that movie.
Oh, okay. No, well, okay.
I made a lot.
Mhm.
It's a good year, that movie, but I hated that. That was one of the most miserable shoots I ever worked on in my life.
What was the film again? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Battlefield Earth.
Battlefield Earth. Okay.
Yeah. Not like I said, we rented it when it was out on video, and we'd been told all the scenes to watch for, and we fast forwarded through it just to watch those scenes.
So you basically have seen all my scenes if you saw all John's scenes.
Yeah,
so that's awesome. There you go.
Would we recognize you?
Anyway, back to
You
books.
You might recognize me. Who knows? I don't know.
Holy
fuck
shit,
Bear.
that movie got really bad reviews.
Deservedly so.
Very much. So I'm gonna go get my supper out of the oven.
Not me just having a quick Google and checking out the movie.
Actually, I
at
have
all.
to go do that too.
It doesn't matter. He got paid. And I'm
I
glad
will
that-
check it out though, because I'm curious. What scenes was it?
There's anything with John Topor.
So now we've done serious mental damage to Iman for the future.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be watching Zardoz at some point in time
Yeah.
too. He's going to be. I can't wait to hear what he has to say about that.
Yeah, I'm debating whether to go the whole hog or just watch the movie.
Watching the movie should be enough.
Yeah, I think so
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
You don't need anything when you watch that film. It's just like
So
anyway.
we are
Are you
in the last
credited? By the way, sorry, Bear.
Sorry, what?
Are you credited in the movie?
Oh yeah.
He won't be in the credits as Bear. I guarantee you that.
Well, I was gonna say, like, how will I know?
I don't know. Good luck. Watch the movie. See if you can figure it out. I'm not going to dox myself if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Well, it
Voluntary
doesn't matter. We'll still
doxing.
call you Bear, just like we call Mage's Musings.
Yeah.
To be fair, Mage does put his name.
That is true, but it's only because Merlanster whatever.
Merlinster Gandaldor.
Yeah, Merlinster Gandaldor is just too long to say. It doesn't roll off the tongue like it should.
Yeah.
And a lot of us do know our real names here, but you
don't know
respect
mine.
them. And I probably don't know.
No, like
No,
I don't
I
use
thought-
my real name online. Is my point.
But I respect your right to
that's
privacy. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
So even my Facebook is a different name.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I learned that lesson a long time ago, which is just
I'm sure you've mentioned your name on a stream of yours at
I
some
did one
point.
time show my IMDb page on a stream.
Yeah, so I think I do know. I think I know your first name anyway.
Yeah, but you know what? That's we're not gonna go there. Let's go ahead.
I know Omanel's first name. I know Manfred's real first name. I know
You
Shedweller's
think
real
you
first
do?
name.
You think you know my real
You
first
told
name.
me. You told
Everything
me.
is a sock puppet within a sock
I
puppet.
only call myself Shed Dweller because I thought, oh, it's a bit like D&D compared to my real name.
Slando has successfully lurked.
Yes.
No,
He's-
you were once somewhere where I mentioned my real name. You just weren't paying attention.
All right.
Actually, most people who've been to
Wow.
Clericon know my real name because we were in person. So,
Yeah.
you know.
I have to
mean,
confess. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I met Gingerbeard last summer, and I referred to him as Ginger the whole time. I
Yeah.
do know his real name now, but
Yeah, but you know what? Sometimes the monikers are more fun than the real name.
yeah. We are in the last 5-10 minutes of the stream, so this is the bit where we ramble on and Bear eats his dinner.
I've been doing that the whole time.
Yeah.
I got to wait till tomorrow, before I
To
can
eat
eat.
dinner? Wow, that's brutal, man. Why are you
Yeah.
eating on it?
Apparently,
I-
Kabuki
because
Kid
I'm
has an
fasting,
IMDb
I'm trying to
page.
do like-
Is it Ramadan? What's going on?
Well, not yet.
Well, I tried fasting about once a quarter, and I decided this was a good time. So I'm on day 2, so I got to wait till tomorrow for Thanksgiving, and then just pig out. So
That can't be good for your body.
actually, no, there's some weird things that shows that it is good to do it infrequently, but to still do it. So.
What, for more than a day?
Yeah, if you look up autophage, I don't want to give too much to do. If you look up autophage, it does it's supposed to help get a lot of like debris within your cells and remove it. There's some science behind it, but I don't do it that often. I do it like once a quarter.
And then later,
Without getting too scientific-y, so you basically go to when you achieve ketosis and then just eat again.
That's probably, I'm not at ketosis yet, but that's it. But they say anywhere from like 48 to 72 hours. So that's about when I'm going to.
That's intense. I do Ramadan. I can tell you, that's fucking intense. Doing it for 20 hours is bad enough.
Yeah, but I'm not doing anything. I mean, I'm sitting in work, or I'm sitting in a chair for the most time. It's not like it's brutal. So yeah, but it's good to do every so often. It's just,
Do you still drink fluids or what?
yeah, I do. That says I'm that. But we'll see tomorrow. I'm going to plant some cherry trees. We'll see if I pass out. But other than that, I should be good.
I prefer the simple old, seafood diet.
Seafood eat it.
Yeah,
I don't believe in any of those diets. I once had to go 10 days without eating. That was bad enough.
Ooh. What was that? If you don't mind, what happened there?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay, that's fine.
and it's
You weren't-
why
you
he's
weren't-
no
you-
longer allowed in Atlanta.
You weren't in ranger school, were you?
Well,
No.
Okay. Because my
it wasn't
father.
COVID, was it?
No.
Okay,
No,
that's
no,
I
fine.
believe the
Then.
man clearly said he didn't want to
No,
talk
no,
about it.
that's
Everyone.
So back to books, guys.
Yeah, that's exactly.
So, yeah, I'm out of books.
You're out of
Okay.
books. Well, here's good news: Amazon delivers to Germany, so you can order more.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, I have a whole list of books, actually, of new books to read.
Hey, if you haven't read I Have No Mouth and I'm the Scream, I would definitely recommend that. It's one of the best books I've ever read.
So I got a really weird
Thanks,
email
guys.
from Lulu where they gave me a 15% off discount coupon, but they started with, "It's time to restock your shelves." I'm like, I don't eat books.
I need shelves.
So quick question, because we know that you just moved there. How did you feel about the move with all your books that you have currently?
I'm sorry, what do you mean?
You said you just moved probably in the last month or so,
October
and
1st.
I know that you had to transport your books, and just like, is that the one time that you cursed? Like, why am I doing this?
No. See, I do this really intelligent thing where I save up some money and I pay men to come to my house and lift my shit up, put it in a truck, bring it to where I'm going, and unload the shit.
Yeah.
I learned that skill about 15 years ago, and I was like,
See?
never, ever not doing that again.
Yeah,
That
for
was the
sure.
question I was going to ask. Was
So
how was
many
it before
boxes?
you learned that?
Hmm.
Before you learned that, how
Oh
was
yeah,
it?
no. Here's money.
You don't
Here's
want to
money,
talk about
young
it.
men.
You
Here's
don't want to
money,
talk
young
about
men. Go lift shit for me. Put it there. Put it there. Thank you.
Yes,
It was great because it was basically it was a Punjabi Sikh group that came. The guys were all Punjabi Sikh, and I know just enough to get myself in trouble, so I was able to joke around with them and bit like that. And there was a whole bunch of furniture I wasn't bringing. I'm like, okay, that goes to the curb. That goes to the curb. And they're like, this piece, you want to throw out? And I'm like, nah, you want it? Yes. I'm like, take it. So they loaded up like
Sir,
3 or
do you
4
want
of my
this?
pieces of furniture
we,
into their truck.
we can have.
I'm sorry?
Did we? You have furniture we can take, sir?
Yeah.
We can have this?
Yeah. Pago Gora. Understood. No worries.
you know what's funny is, like, oh, I'll do this. Well, I did that one time with moving all my books to the 3rd floor, and the good thing is that I did have friends I could bribe with food, so that made a big difference. And I always gave tenderloin steaks. I gave them good food, so yes.
Yeah, no,
Not
once
cheap
I'm
pizza.
unpacked, get the fuck
Yeah.
out of my house.
Yep.
I don't want you hanging around. Go away. You know? That's the nice part about hiring
How many
movers. They
boxes
just
of
do
books
it.
did you have, Bear?
Enough.
Enough.
And I didn't use boxes. I used plastic storage bins.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
And this was after you sold a few of them before you moved.
Yeah, I sold some stuff I really don't regret selling, but I'm kind of like, oh, fuck. There's a couple of items that I'm like, I'm sad they're no longer in my collection, but that's okay. Hey, let's talk about our Lord and Savior, Dungeons and Dragons.
Actually, you know what? Since we're now at the rambling part, where did your epiphany for D&D come from? That's because you seem to change the last week.
Must I go into this? Because this is now me talking about me on John's show, and I feel bad about that.
Well, we're at the rambling bit, so go on, ramble.
All right. So you guys know I've been working on my own game, Bastard Sword, for a really long time. Bastard Sword started life originally as a Pathfinder beginner box clone, and then it evolved over time to being what it is. And I've been running a private playtest with my face-to-face group, and it was fun. We were having fun. And I got to a point where I didn't want it to be a playtest group anymore. I just wanted to play a fucking game with my friends and not constantly playtesting. So I said, hey, would you guys mind if we switch back to Pathfinder Beginner Box? And they're like, yeah, sure. And ever since we did that, they don't stop talking about it.
Oh, good.
They're constantly talking to me. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I started looking at it really wildly and paying attention to it. And I realized, you know what? I'm wrong. Classes and levels give the players something. They give them a role automatically when they begin their character. They know what they're doing. Levels give them their dopamine hits of actually getting result for their actions, and they love class abilities because it gives them cool shit to do in a game. So you know what? All the years I've been shitting on D&D, I'm wrong. I'm completely wrong.
XP is a currency for a lot of role-playing games.
Still don't use XP. I still, because we're using Pathfinder Beginner Box and everybody has a uniform, the uniform experience table from 3rd edition onwards, I use Session XP, which is this. To get to 2nd level, survive 2 sessions. To get to 3rd level, survive 3 more sessions. To get to 4th level, 4 more sessions, etc., etc., etc. You want to play D&D with that, with like 3rd edition and later, 10 levels, playing every week, it's going to take you a full year of gaming to get to that point.
But if they miss a session, they're
shit out of luck and they fall behind.
That's fine. That's fine. I like oddly higgledy-piggledy parties that are some low levels, some higher levels. I don't mind that.
Yeah, you're stuck in 78. We know.
82. Darn it! Isn't that like?
Oh, are you the beat?
83.
You're so Beckme?
83. Beckme was my first. Yes.
Okay, so you're stuck in 83. That's okay. I'm stuck in 84 musically. And
Good with that. There's some good music in 84.
And it's the best year in recorded history for cinema. And I dare you to go look up all the movies released in 1984 and not go, holy fuck, what a year for movies. Yeah. But that's beside the point. Yeah, so anyway, so I've realized that D&D is no longer the devil I think it is. I've always liked 5th edition. I think there's a good core system in 5th edition that was poorly executed by WotC. And I was going to run BX, and I was so fucking annoyed by having to go and try and figure out how to do certain things I needed to do for my world that just BX couldn't do, that I was like, I mean, it could do if I rewrote it. And I'm like, I don't want to write a bunch of fucking shit to play a game that's not a playtest game. So I was able to just go to Pathfinder Beginner Box, and everything I needed was there, including some things that I'd written previously years and years and years ago that I had needed at the time for my world.
Well, I mean, that's great. I know that you're looking for it. If it cuts down on your workload, man, that makes a big difference. That I can just focus on your world and less on your system.
I kind of like the idea of a Matrix game, though, that's got like some class-based elements, but also has some a la carte skills that people can take. So you've
Matrix,
got
like the movie.
No, just like a Matrix organization, you know.
Alien does that somewhat. I mean, it does. Yeah, you know, it basically has each little group has their little special ability in there, but then but everyone has the same basic skills. It's only your but it's
I kind of like the idea that you can like buy a block, right? Like you can be a paladin of whatever, and they get like maybe some really cool perks, but they've also got some constraints and some duties and things. There's things that they've got to do for that. And you can't just like pick a la carte every skill to make your character. You have to have some kind of a background or some kind of a profession or some kind of a class, right? That gives you some sort of structure, some sort of skeleton, some sort of also constraints and duties that you have to perform. But I like the idea of maybe having a paladin who knows how to pick a lock, or you know, a mage who can maybe defend himself fairly well with a shield or something, you know.
So if you actually go look at basic fantasy role playing, one of the people wrote up a really neat idea, which was what they called pseudo classes, where basically you don't multi-class, but you can take aspects of another class by taking a pseudo class. Same idea in Castles and Crusades. They have class and a half. And Pathfinder 2 does it through class feats, where basically you can take some feats that will give you aspects of another class. The reason why I like this is if you're a fighter and you want to learn some spells and you take one of these things, you'll get some spells, but you'll never be as good a mage as an actual dedicated mage. Or if you're a mage who wants to learn how to fight, you can take a couple of these things and you'll have some ability with a sword or whatever, but you'll never be as good a fighter.
Yeah.
Why I hate multi-classing in 3rd edition, 4th edition, 5e is because you're just as good as them.
Right.
And it's really fucking stupid. And then you hear nonsense terms like, I'm going to dip into barbarian for a couple of levels. What? Your character smears himself with shit and goes live in the woods? What do you mean you're going to dip into fucking barbarian for a couple of levels? Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
So I'm going to ask you a quick question there, Manfred, because I keep forgetting.
Yeah.
What character class do you play when we're on Saturday morning? So I guess Saturday afternoons for you.
For MERP.
Oh, you play the MERP. I kept thinking that you played also in our.
I do play OSE.
Yeah.
I do play OSE. I think I mostly play fighters, actually.
Okay. I was trying to remember. I couldn't remember, so that's why I was curious.
But that's just because I wasn't very familiar with OSE, and I didn't know what else I was going to do, so I just picked fighters. I think
fighters.
One is a gnome, but he's a gnome as a class. So
okay, yeah.
But I don't. The problem I have with feats is that some of the feats in 5e are just really silly.
Yes. No. Again, there's a lot of broken shit in 5e.
Yeah.
But the base core system is fantastic.
Well, the other thing, I don't like this idea of leveling up and a proficiency bonus, because it's like I haven't shot my crossbow in a million years, but all of a sudden I level up and I'm just better all the way across the board. You know, I don't like that concept. I wish there was, and I'm kind of actually putting all the creative stuff for my next game out there right now, but I wish that there was an option there for players to buy skills and go up in a skill rather than level up. And
so Manfred, stick around for Bastard Sword. I'll let you know when it comes out. I think you're going to like a lot of the itches it's going to scratch for you.
But I think this.
But if it's based on Pathfinder, I probably won't. I don't know. It's too heroic. You like the heroic stuff, so
you don't know. Just be quiet.
Okay, all right.
Anyway, we are past midnight.
I'll check it out.
Where I am. We are past midnight, and this is the time when my head starts to inflate and turn orange. So I've been sat there doing. Playing about with that. Yeah, it is pumpkin hour, which means we are coming towards midnight. 1984 was, of course, a great year for music. It was the year that the Sisters of Mercy were releasing their early EPs. The Cure at the height of their powers, echoing the Bunnymen too. So yes, there was some great music around in the early 80s, and it is time to depart. I don't. Why is Nightbot moaning at Hungar there?
No idea. I have to say that
He must
I have
have
to
capitalized all nerds or something.
I have to apologize if anybody wrote me anything in the feed. I couldn't pay attention to it. Usually I'm good at multitasking, but when Bear's there, you've got to be on your toes. So.
What the fuck? What did
So, Bear,
yeah.
Slan,
Mm-hmm.
actually, Shed Dweller, Iman, you started a channel a couple of weeks ago. You get to shield your channel first.
Well, I've just uploaded one video. It doesn't matter, but yeah, if you click on my name, you'll see a video that I uploaded a few weeks ago or whatever. Yeah, cool. Check it out if you want. It's Metal Gear Solid. If you're not interested, cool.
Bear's just put food in his mouth. Slan, shield your channel.
Okay, well, talking about games and other things, I just put out, recently had like a redrawing of the Starship in S3 and pointed out some neat stuff and problems with it. And then I put all that out, and then I discovered another problem with it. So 2 days ago, I put out a very short, like 5-minute video explaining that additional problem and updated the maps that I have available for download if people want them.
Slan exists to cover the modules I hate.
I'm going to say this much. His stuff for S3, if you pull it out, it's really nice. And, whoever does a remake should use Grumpy Old Slan's maps, with his permission and money, so he can survive.
And
I will say, even not as a fan of the module, what he's done in terms of recreating the map and sort of imagining it and placing the maps above one another and sorting out the logic behind them, it's very good.
Thank you. No, my plan is actually to use that starship, convert it into like a survival shelter, think Fallout, and it for it to be the final base, if you will, where the Legions of Gold from the Gamma World module is, because I find that the module has a very underwhelming final dungeon to delve into. And if you can have Legions of Gold, you should have more than like 30 or so Legionnaires.
Bear.
Yeah.
Shield your channel.
Are you going to do Flow Color Cafe today?
It's right. We have a 4-color cafe tonight. It's going to be starting in about 50 minutes on my channel, Bear the Gen X GM. We're going to have, we're doing Thanksgiving tonight. We're going to be talking about things we're thankful for. And we're going to have Sean from Palladium Games on with us tonight to discuss that as well. So come on by, hang out. And there you go. That's the only time I'll give a legit shill. So there it is.
Yeah. No, Saurian, I am far from closeted in terms of my love of goth music. So I do like it. I like it a lot. Fields of the Nephilim, Sisters of Mercy, Bolshoi, Echo and the Bunnymen, all that sort of stuff. Bauhaus, yes. All that sort of good stuff from the 80s.
Remember back in those days when it was just called alternative and goth didn't become a thing till the fucking 90s?
No, it was known as goth here in the 80s.
Well, that's because you're wrong.
I can remember when the Police were considered punk.
Mm-hmm.
The first time goth was used to describe music, I believe, was a journalist reviewing a Joy Division album in 1979.
Joy Division's not goth.
It inspired a lot of early goth.
Oh, whatever. Robert Smith came out to play in the Montreal Forum, or the Big O, I think it was, wearing a Montreal fucking Canadiens jersey and pink bunny slippers, and all the goths freaked out. And he's like, I'm not fucking goth.
But the thing is, goth was a description in terms of the sound of the music rather than the image at the time. In the late 70s.
Pretentious Brits. I mean, yeah, good. Thanks, Sean. Great story.
Anyway, both Manfred and Omanal don't have channels, but I'm going to thank them for joining us in the conversation tonight. Thank you, fellas. And Wayne joined us earlier, distracted by Dog repeatedly. Wayne is clearly well read and well written. He's a done a lot more reading, probably than the rest of us put together by the sound of things.
Yeah, Wayne would have been at the top of that list that you made earlier.
Oh yeah.
But-
Yeah.
So I
But-
wonder where his dog would have come in. But anyway,
but
Dog's probably
it
better
will-
read than most of us too, to be honest.
apart from maybe Slan. Slan's clearly done a bit of reading in his time as well. But thank you all for joining the stream tonight. Thank you, chat. It's been a highly entertaining. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you again soon.
Not if
Good
I see
night.
you first.
bye bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Cheers.